Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
I love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio.
Welcome back to TexAgs Stacked. I'm Billy Lucci.
Olin Buchanan.
Make a mistake. We're not going anywhere. This is going to be a great program, and we're building it into a great program.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I stand by what we do and how we do it.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
That's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man. 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
All right, let's go through some numbers this morning here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. More on them in a moment. Actually, let's just do it now. Olin Buchanan, my Heisman Trophy voter/buddy. Olin, tell me a little bit about the shirt you're wearing.
This is a large, first of all, not the extra large, but in the classic maroon with the MM, which stands for what? Moose Muhammad.
Moose Muhammad.
So this fits perfectly. So
To the chest and the arms?
I will say this is one time when the moose isn't loose.
The moose isn't, but he's about to get loose,
fits
baby.
perfectly.
Maybe against Alabama.
I think it'd be loose if they had unleashed him.
I am wearing an Evan Stewart shirt, if you can't see. Let me show. Should I show the back?
Yeah, show the back. Yeah, you can see Evan. Yeah.
A little Evan Stewart shirt there. You can get this at CC Creations, the warehouse at CC Creations. They reached out to us and like, hey, you want to wear these shirts? I was like, yeah. We'll be wearing some tomorrow as well. So go to CC's Creations to go support what they're doing there and get yourself an Evan Stewart shirt, a Connor Wigman shirt, a Noah Thomas shirt. They got a lot of people. Bryce Anderson, you name it. Go check it out there. All right, as I mentioned, Olin.
Yes, sir.
I want to go through some numbers.
Okay.
Do you know that Jalen Milroe has been sacked 15 times this season?
I know that Alabama quarterbacks have been sacked 20.
Yep.
I did not know it was 15 on Milroe, but that makes sense because he didn't play against South Florida.
I'm going to give you some numbers just to kind of understand where things are, and then we can think about A&M for a moment. He had 11 going into the Mississippi State game. He was sacked 5 times versus Texas, who, according to the Greg McElroy's got a great defense. They do have a very good defense. I like A&M's, but I'm a homer. And Mississippi State, Ole Miss 4 times versus
and 4 by Mississippi State.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that just gives you a little bit.
The only team they played that had fewer than 4 sacks is Middle Tennessee. Had 2.
Continue on. KJ Jefferson, are you familiar with his game?
I am. You know, I'm a fan of his.
Yep. He's been sacked 18 times this year. Wow. A lot.
Yeah.
But going into the A&M game, only 11.
That would tell me 11.
So that tells me A&M's defense got after him, and they hadn't gone after him the way A&M did. Correct or incorrect?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, set 11, and then you get 7. So if you divide 11 by the previous 4 games, that's less than 3.
All right, we're going to continue on this conversation. Peyton Thorne, familiar with his game?
I am.
He was sacked. He's been sacked 13 times this year.
Just 13 times.
You know how many against A&M himself?
7.
No.
Oh, no, it was.
Because they had 2 quarterbacks playing.
That's right. So probably 5.
5. Huh. I'm seeing a trend here that these quarterbacks, you get sacked in football. It happens. But against A&M, bigger numbers happen. Here's another one. Remember back in the Miami game, a game that, in my opinion, A&M's defense had not shown up yet, right? We hadn't seen backfield pressure yet, right?
Right.
How many times did they get to Tyler Van Dyke?
2.
You know how many times he's been sacked this year?
2.
Correct. I'm just saying what I'm saying.
And I think A&M, again, I've said it before, I think they were not as aggressive in that game against Miami as they should have been.
Nope. This is just to kind of help paint the picture of why I think a lot of my because
I got a number for you.
Okay.
Do you know how many times beyond sacks Alabama quarterbacks have been, quote, statistically pressured?
That I don't know. I don't even know how to guess that number.
Oh, you can look it up. They keep that stat.
No, I know. I don't know how I could guess it.
15.
15.
So they've been sacked 20 times. The quarterback has been statistically pressured on 15 other occasions.
Huh.
A lot of pressure.
Lots of pressure. And I don't know if you've known this.
I wonder if our guy's going to come back with that David Bowie Queen song now. Under pressure.
Under pressure.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
So what I'm saying is this defense Walter Nolan, isn't he tied for the lead?
Walter Nolan has 2.5 sacks.
That was just last week, right?
No, is it for the season?
For the season, okay.
He's third.
Okay.
Edgerrin has 4. He's first. Shamar Turner has 3.5.
Uh-huh.
Walter has 2.5. And then there's a couple of guys with 2, I think.
Okay. According to Nick's, it's 3 sacks on the year. According to ESPN, they have him at 3. But whatever.
Okay, according to college football stats, I was looking today and it was 2.5.
Yeah, and it's weird because on one part of this ESPN page they have it at 3.
And that's according to Texas A&M on their site. The statistics. That's where I get mine from.
Big Walt's getting his sacks. That's what we can say. Look, interesting statistic. But I'm going to also let you know that Bama's team, by the way, so A&M on the season has how many sacks on the year? Do you guys remember? 20, right? Bama has 17 on the year. And I kind of went through where those sacks are coming from. And 11 of those 17 sacks have come in, I would say, the big games. 4 sacks versus Mississippi State. 5 sacks versus Ole Miss. Just 2 sacks against Texas. So those are the 11 of the 17. So we've heard a lot. I guess my question would be, who's got a better offensive line, Alabama or Arkansas? I'm gonna assume Bama.
I would assume I know Bama's offensive line is more decorated. They had 2 guys that were preseason all SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Latham and they got Booker.
Yep.
Booker's like a 350-pound left guard, I think, and I may have that wrong. I know he's a guard.
Well,
I don't know. I would assume Alabama does.
I would assume too. Because but regardless, there's going to be more sacks in Bama's offense because of what they're trying to do now, which is going to be a lot more running. They're not going to. I think KJ Jefferson does run when needed.
Then you'd probably have fewer sacks.
But there's going to be more opportunities, I'm saying, to get to him.
But if they're running more and not passing, then you have they're only throwing about 20 times a game now, if that.
Yes, but don't they try to throw and then turn it into a run?
Well, that's that. In some cases, that's true.
So I want you to hear from Tyler Booker. And by the way, this is what makes college football great. None of this is like, I don't even think this is trash talking. Have you heard his comments?
I have not.
All right. I don't think it's trash talking, but it's like the Astros celebrating the Rangers, celebration, right? Like, you better be careful because you may have to face this team. So Tyler Booker, you make these comments, and they're not bad.
Okay.
And that should be what he thinks.
He's supposed to be confident.
He should think this. I think he should say it, but there's always a response. Well, hopefully there's a response. Here's Tyler Booker yesterday on the Next Round show out of Alabama.
Our mindset is like, let's see how fast we can empty the stadium. You know what I mean? Last week we emptied the stadium about 2 minutes into the third quarter. So that's just our mindset on the road games. Like, let's send these fans away home sad. So but as far as like actually getting the work done is just staying focused, not being worried about external factors and just
I think Nick was under pressure during the break.
Yeah, he seemed a little bit tense.
Well, because the stream wasn't working, but he fixed it. Oh. My understanding, everything is fixed on YouTube on TexAgs.com.
And you know what? I went to FBSstats.com, and they did update Walter Nolan to 3. They did? Mm-hmm.
All right. Huh. Good times.
So good. 3 sacks for Walter Nolan.
It is TexAgs Radio.
3 this week, Walter.
That'd be great. Gosh, I'd love that. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It's the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. We're wearing these shirts thanks to our friends there at CC Creations. Moose Muhammad.
The Moose Call.
Evan Stewart. And who do you got, Nick?
Nia Smith.
Nia Smith. That's right. Yeah.
Sub-Zero.
All right, buddy. It's time for a little Heisman talk here on TexAgs Radio, brought to you by the Shirtlift Law Firm. Shirtlift Law Firm, delivering justice for those who need it most. Obi-Wan Kenobi, who do we got with our first one?
I wish you would have given me the heads up because I forgot to look at it. But
I can tell you. It's right there, right in front of you.
Yeah, but I don't have all the numbers.
I can help you.
Okay. Well, as I'm looking.
Jordan Travis, Florida State quarterback.
Well, okay.
He has rushed for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he's passed for 10 touchdowns.
And they were idle last week.
And they didn't do anything.
Yeah. And the biggest thing for Jordan Travis, and he needs to start putting up some numbers, but he's got wins, or he's led his team to wins over Clemson and LSU.
Yep.
Yeah. Number 4 on my list is Shedeur Sanders. He bounced back from that poor performance against Oregon. He threw for 371 yards and 4 touchdowns in that loss to USC. But don't blame him. He scored 41 points. So you can't put that loss on him. He also rushed for 50 yards. You know, that had a touchdown overall, completing 74.8% of his passes for 1,781 yards and 15 touchdowns.
Pretty darn good season.
It is a pretty darn good season. Speaking of not blaming a quarterback for a loss, next on my list is Jaden Daniels of LSU. He threw for 414 yards and 4 touchdowns and rushed for 99 yards and a touchdown.
He was great.
In a loss.
Yeah.
In a 55-49 loss to LSU.
Was Ole Miss's defense out there on the field?
They were out there on the field.
Oh, they were? Okay.
Especially on the last play when he threw a pass that deflected off his receiver's hands. They were in the end zone. By the way, side note, that 55 points is the most, or the 49 points, I should say, is the most points LSU has ever scored in a loss in regulation.
Huh.
The most points they've ever scored in a loss was 72, but that was a 7-overtime game against who?
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M Aggies. That's right. So, Jaden Daniels, despite a loss, had a huge game last week. Number 2, Caleb Williams, the USC quarterback. Look, he's making a very strong bid to join Archie Griffin as the only 2-time Heisman recipient last week in that game against Colorado. He threw 6 touchdown passes, count them, 6, a half dozen touchdown passes in one game against Colorado, completed 30 of 40 for 403 yards. Overall this season, 1,603 yards and 21 touchdowns.
I like it.
He's rushed for 3, too.
Yeah.
So, and then number 1 on my list is Michael Penix, so the Washington quarterback. Did not throw a touchdown pass last week in their 31-24 victory over Arizona. So you could say he had a bad game. And for Michael Penix this year, a bad game means completing 30 of 40 passes for 363 yards. He leads the nation with 1,999 passing yards. Yes, he's been passing like it's 1999. He's thrown 16 touchdown passes, just two interceptions.
Just 2
Michael Penix.
Michael Penix.
A lot of Penix envy out there because we wish everybody could have a quarterback like that.
I'm not saying this is going to happen, but since it is your Heisman watch, yours.
Yeah.
Okay. In about 2 weeks. In 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
If A&M takes care of business.
South Carolina?
No, the bye week.
The bye week. I'm sorry.
In 2 weeks, if A&M gets past Alabama and Tennessee. There's a lot of ifs, right?
Okay,
but we're celebrating the moment right now. They do that. And this continues. Max Johnson's passing grade this season is 92.2, ranks 4th among all quarterbacks. Could he maybe make the All-NBA candidate list? I mean, he didn't start the beginning part of the year, but I'm just curious if it's possible if A&M starts winning.
Well, let me see what the numbers
Continues winning.
Let me see what the numbers are. Yeah. I don't think he had Heisman-worthy numbers last week. I thought he played well, and I think you got to look at the totality of the season. I'll say this: I'm always open-minded, but there is no room for any kind of provincial bias. when you're given an honor, like voting for it. So I've always thought, the worst situation I could ever come down to is if, say, it was down to Craig Ewers and Max, and I had to look at it, and everything, and all the numbers supported Ewers. I would have to go with the guy that I'd have to look at it objectively. So it would depend. It would really depend on the numbers that Max had put up, but they'd have to be more impressive because lately, let's face it, Max is playing well, right? But they got a non-offensive touchdown in the game against Arkansas. They got a defensive touchdown, I should say, and a special teams touchdown. He threw an interception, pick six, maybe not his fault, but he lost 2 fumbles.
So I guess more my real point is not that I would expect them to be at this point, but if this team does go on this run that we think is possible, right? And they're a 10-2 team, an 11-1 team, and he's the quarterback of this team with pretty darn good numbers.
Usually, in most cases, the quarterback of a national championship contender is
in the mix.
If you're a quarterback of a national championship contender, you are typically, by definition, a Heisman Trophy contender. Now, let's see if A&M gets to that point.
Sure.
And if they get to that point, they'll probably need Max to be having a huge game. I wouldn't say it's out of the question. I'll tell you why. Because if you'll look at the numbers that Devontae Smith put together the year he won it, most of what he did was in the second half of the season.
Yep. Well, the second half of the season is still a couple weeks away. Evan Stewart, just for conversation's sake, 24 receptions, 357 yards, 4 touchdowns. You make a statement against Bama, it changes the conversation.
Could
just
be
like
Anais
Smith. Yeah, exactly.
And Anais has a history. Well, so does Evan, because Evan was spectacular against Alabama last year. But Anais has a very impressive history against Alabama.
Yep. That is our Heisman Watch, brought to you by the Shurtleff Law Firm, delivering justice for those who need it most. When we come back here on TexAgs Radio, we're talking a little Aaron Torres, who's picking A&M to beat Alabama. We'll find out the why behind it. Plus, we'll talk a little bit about the Red River Shootout and much, much more. Right now, we're talking Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Need a car? Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Don't need one just yet? Still Caldwell Country Chevrolet when you need one here in a few weeks, a few months, a few years, whenever it may be. That is the place to go and start your search. You go to the website, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. You'll see all the vehicles that they have on the lot. Get a kind of feel for the vehicles and also the pricing that they have there. So that's where you start your search. When you go in person, you're going to be blown away with the cars, the new car scent. That you can get that at other places. But I'm just saying, there, I like it. And the customer service, the price point, all that you get when you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. So make sure when you're ready for that, if you got a teen that's about to start driving, you consider Caldwell Country Chevrolet as the place to go get your car. It's about a 15-minute drive at the very end of Bryan to Caldwell, short conversation away. But you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with our friends there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. All right, we probably stopped them mid-workout. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Time for Around College Football presented by Milliken Reserve, a College Station community featuring homes, trails, farms, and wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. Take part in the Milliken Reserve community with a Conservancy membership. Learn more, MillikenReserve.com. We go to the hotline. We are joined by Aaron Torres, AT, from Aaron Torres Online and Fox Sports Radio. AT, what up?
David Nuño, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm well. You're here with OB, and are you in the middle of curls? What are you in the middle of?
Yeah, curls for girls. You know that. You know how it works. I mean, you know better than anybody, Nuño. I don't know how much you work out, but what's up, OB? How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I just finished the tricep extensions.
Oh, great. Hey, real quick, what is campus like this week? Are you guys? I mean, I assume you guys can feel it all week long.
Yeah, and honestly, I guess the best way to say it is what ticket pool was like, right? People were out there at 10 o'clock the night before Sunday night.
Well, they've had people. There were some that had been camping out for 2 weeks.
Yeah. So that tells you.
It's great.
That tells you, man.
There's a lot of excitement around here,
and especially after the comments from Tyler Booker, see how fast they empty the stadium. We're going to try to load that stadium as quickly as possible and stay as long as we can.
Yeah, listen, the whole, even, I'll say this about that whole comment.
It was funny.
Even Alabama fans, what's that?
It was funny. Like, I didn't take offense to it.
No, but I think even Alabama fans are kind of like, this last 2.5 years, the input-output of the amount of talking versus the amount of results is absolutely unbelievable. And I think even Alabama fans are frustrated with it. I mean, if you remember, I think it might have been Tyler Booker or it might have been Latham, whatever one of the offensive linemen. It was basically like, it was after the Texas game, he basically said something to the effect of, we took them for granted or we took them lightly or whatever. So it's like, I think the Alabama fans are like, look, we're happy that we won 2 in a row. We're happy that we're 2-0 in SEC play. But can you just keep the off-the-field stuff off the field? And now, by the way, I think they know both the strengths and the weaknesses of that team. So anyway, like you said, it's some friendly trash talk. There's nothing to it. But I do think even in the Alabama community, there's like, guys, we do a lot more talking than the results would warrant here over the last couple of years.
Well, I don't know that Alabama's ever actually been beaten. It's always they didn't take somebody. They weren't focused, right. Or the other team had an open week, or we put it all on the game before. There's always an edge or an alibi.
It's unbelievable.
AT.
No, there is. Yeah, go ahead, David.
No. By all means.
I had nothing really to add, but it is unbelievable. I will say, I talked to your guys' mutual friend Ryan Fowler yesterday. There's concern about this Aggie team. I think, they might have bluster on social media or in press conferences or whatever. I think they do understand the challenge that they're walking into on Saturday afternoon in College Station.
AT, give us your reasons why you think, because I know you had it on your show, A&M will win, and give us some thoughts where they still need to click on your link to watch the rest of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I mean, you should watch everything I do, but no, I mean, I talked about the A&M game on my show yesterday, and the clip's available on YouTube if people want to check it out. I would appreciate it. But no, I mean, listen, I think it's all the stuff that we've seen over the last couple of weeks since Miami, and I know Miami did not go well, all of that, but what I think the thing that stands out to me more than anything is that we are seeing those young guys, especially on defense, mature in front of our eyes. And I know people say, oh, well, what about Miami and Arkansas State and Auburn State and this and that? It's like, if you can't see a Walter Nolan, whoever, Overton, the young guys that were forced into action last year, probably before they were ready, but then they also gained that experience, which has led to confidence this year. I mean, I remember going back to week 1 against New Mexico, and I know you guys were covering the game, but Louis Riddick was in the booth, and he said, I had one of their games last year, and these guys look so timid and this and that. He's like, now they're playing fast and confident. And so I think the number one thing is Alabama against Texas. They struggled with physicality and skill up front, and I think that's what Texas A&M brings. And then I think after that, it's the obvious. Home field advantage. You certainly have the more veteran quarterback. by the way, Jalen Milroe, like I think he's developing and he's maturing. But again, it goes back to what I said a minute ago with Alabama. I think even Alabama fans know his limitations. So I think a lot of things are shaking up really, really, really nicely for A&M coming into this one, guys.
What are your biggest questions though about Alabama?
Biggest question about Alabama is Jalen Milroe, and I think it's and again, I don't think it's like I'm breaking nuclear codes here to explain it, but I think even Alabama fans know there's a difference between playing Ole Miss at home, and that game really was pretty close into like the late third quarter, early fourth. And there's a difference between playing Ole Miss at home, playing Mississippi State on the road, and going to College Station. And I think, it's the same question that we've had about him since the Texas game, which is, can he make enough plays with his arm to beat good teams? And, I forget if we talked about it on this show, guys, but I remember, with all that back and forth with the Alabama quarterback position, Milroe gets benched, then Tyler Buckner gets benched, but they don't go back to Milroe, then they do go back to Milroe. And everyone says, what's going on? Is there a locker room this? Was Jalen Milroe suspended? Nick Saban, I think, just realized this defense is going to keep me in a lot of games. I don't trust any of my quarterbacks. I don't trust any of my I don't trust my offensive linemen in pass protection. So the guy that is going to give me the best chance to win is Jalen Milroe, especially with his legs. You go back to last week, I forget the exact numbers, but I think it was one more pass attempt versus one more rush attempt. I think it was 13 pass attempts, 12 rush attempts, something like that. It's like, so when you talk about concerns, that's what the concern is can Jalen Milroe make enough plays with his arm to actually win this game? Because I think, again, it's one thing to be able to rush the ball 12, 13, 14 times for 70 yards or whatever against Mississippi State. I think it's quite another to ask him to do it this weekend against Texas A&M.
AT, has A&M done enough against quality teams? And some will say to you that Arkansas is not a good team. Auburn's not a good team. You have to do it in the games that matter. Miami was that team. It didn't get done. Alabama will be that team. Do you buy that, or do you think both Arkansas and Auburn, especially what you saw Auburn do last week to Georgia, make them a worthy opponent and make those stats matter?
Yeah, I think the people that don't want to believe at Texas A&M, don't want to believe that a team can improve over the course of a month stretch dating back to that Miami game. That's what they'll push back on, Dave. Oh, who have they played? Oh, well, Arkansas, blah, blah, blah. It's like Arkansas was within a field goal of beating LSU at LSU. Now, I know LSU might not be very good, but it also means that Arkansas probably isn't terrible. As you just said, David, Auburn took Georgia down to the wire last week at home. So, I think that's part of the argument, and I think that's why you have to win a game like this. I think even if Alabama's down, there is a level of credibility to beating Alabama, no matter how it happens. And it also means, look, whether you like it or not, whether you think the SEC is down or not, whether you think the West is down or not, LSU's not very good, Ole Miss I don't really believe in. It also means you have a pathway to the SEC championship game. And so I don't want to put the cart before the horse. I don't want to say, if you win this game, you're going to win the SEC West. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not saying you're winning the West. I'm not saying you're winning the SEC. I'm not saying you're beating Georgia and Atlanta. I'm just saying that I do think there is a credibility factor that comes with this Alabama win. But I actually want to ask you guys a question because I put it out on Twitter, and I believe what the results said. But I am curious if Texas A&M wins, and let's say it's convincing, but it's not a blowout. I'm not talking 37-3 here. Let's say they win, 28-17, and it's not really in debate late. Do you think the conversation coming out of this game will be, wow, maybe A&M actually is pretty good? Or do you think the conversation will be, Bama loses again, the dynasty's dead, Saban's going to retire? Because I was thinking about it this week is I do think there is I don't think people on the internet, now smart people that cover this sport might be different, but I don't think people on the internet will give Jimbo Fisher credit even if he wins. I think it'll be more of a, Alabama, we know how they are. Saban's 71. He's going to retire after this season. He can't keep doing this. What do you guys think the reaction will be if A&M wins on Saturday? And again, assuming it's not just a total blowout.
Well, I think the prevailing will be what you said about Saban's loss and where they, what's happened. NILs, has has taken away his advantage and all these things.
I think that'll be one of them.
I think that'll be the preeminent one. But I do think that there will be those in the national media that will begrudgingly say, this A&M team could win all these things. They could win this, but then they'll always have the caveat. But they always fade. So are they going to fade?
Right.
Because they always fade. Been here before. 2021, you beat Alabama. You won 4 in a row, and then you lost the last 2. And that's all. That's always going to be brought up until they run the table.
I think the narrative, which has already started to change, people are starting to buy into this A&M offense and this defense. I think it'll continue to evolve, and people are like, I think we got to take this A&M team serious until they prove us otherwise. I think that'll be one of the themes that comes out of it.
And they'll be like vultures waiting for
the moment.
For the moment, yes.
But isn't that for everybody? Like, they're waiting for Bama.
Some more than others.
Yeah.
Some more than others. I think ever since Jimbo Fisher has been hired here, I think that there were some, not everybody in the national media, but some. I mean, there's a prominent guy that never could write an article without putting Jimbo's contract, even though he never did that for Brian Kelly or the guy at Michigan State.
I was going to say, even though all these guys make 8, 9, like I saw so I'll just tell you guys a quick funny side story is with you mentioned Michigan State OB, and I know you were talking about Mel Tucker, but Mark Stoops' name came up for Michigan State, and it's Mark Stoops makes $8 million a year. It's the cost of doing business right now. Yes, you want more out of a coach that is making the money that Jimbo Fisher is making, and there is a conversation to be had if you don't win this game and blah, 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 and this and that and whatever. But at the same time, the money argument to me is so stupid at this point because all of these guys are making absurd money. By the way, that's the market. I don't care if you want to pay your coach $6, $7, $8, $9, $10, $11 million, that's fine. But Dabo Sweeney's making $11 million a year, largely based off past performance right now. They're the third, fourth best team potentially in the lousy ACC. So if people are still putting the dollar amounts and how much Jimbo's making into articles, it's just clown stuff. It really is. I truly believe that.
That is Aaron Torres from Fox Sports Radio and Aaron Torres Online. Aaron, tell us what's on this website so we can check it out.
Yeah, I got my week 6? Week 6 picks. We got some free stuff coming up later this week. So, and then obviously my game preview was on a preview of the A&M Alabama game on the Aaron Torres pod and, of course, on YouTube as well. So I don't want anybody to tune out of TexAgs, but maybe after TexAgs later this afternoon, check it out. And, again, why I think this could be a nice weekend for the Aggies. And, I appreciate you guys having me. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I hope you enjoy the game and all that good stuff.
AT, appreciate you, brother. Take care.
Take care, guys.
Aaron Torres from Aaron Torres Online. All right, when we come back here on TexAgs Radio, we'll have Stephen McGee in studio. He scored the game winner against Texas.
I was there.
In 2006. I think I was there. Pretty sure I was there.
I was covering that game.
I feel like I was working in Waco and I was here for that as a reporter. But, who knows? We'll talk to Stephen about what it's going to take for Max Johnson to be able to do that potentially against Alabama. Right now, we're talking Brazos Running Company located at Century Square. They are Aggie-owned specialty running store with an outstanding selection of running gear and shoes. You get all the top brands out there. You got Brooks, you got On, you've got Hoka. If you're a runner, you're a walker, or interested in fitness, the right shoe does make all the difference in the world. And at Brazos Running Company, they're passionate about running and finding the right shoe for you. They've got all the other brands, too. I want to highlight some of them. Birkenstock. They've got Viore Clothing, one of the hottest athletic brands in the entire country. That's what they have there when you go to Brazos Running Company. Remember, it's never too early to check off some of that holiday shopping at Brazos Running Company. You can find them located at Century Square below the Star Cinema Grill in College Station. It's Brazos Running Company. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. We've got Stephen McGee in studio, Paragon Financial, and, of course, RQB1. Hello, Stephen.
Morning.
What's going on with you?
So you know I'm an old guy now,
and
weather's a big thing for old people. Rain, number one, and cool air is going to be blowing in. This summer has drained the joy out of my soul.
Yes.
110 degree, like breaking records. Every piece of grass in town is burned to heck. Golf courses can't keep their fairways alive. I'm over that. I'm so ready for 70-degree weather. I'm pumped up right now.
59 degrees tomorrow morning is what I think I read.
Really?
Yeah.
So I go get the paper every morning with my daughter. Like, that's my little morning ritual with her. And I cannot wait to open my garage door and not get slammed with a sauna.
Yep, you feel it immediately right when you walk through. Hey, I do want to do a buy-sell lease with you. Go ahead, OB.
Clearly, OB's excited.
I'm glad the draft's over.
He's like, move on. Let's talk football. Let's do a little buy-sell lease. Teams beating higher-ranked teams this weekend. All right, I'm going to give you some scenarios. You know the big games out there, and you tell me who you're buying, who you're selling, you're leasing. All right, you got Oklahoma versus Texas. You've got Kentucky versus Georgia, and Texas A&M versus Alabama.
Dang it. Well, I'm taking the Aggies. It's all good vibes. I'm buying.
Okay.
I don't know enough about Kentucky. They looked good a week ago. So I'm going to sell them. And
You're leasing Oklahoma?
I'm going to lease Oklahoma, even though I think Texas is good. I know it's not a popular opinion around here, but OB, what do you think?
Well, you got to just be true to yourself, right? And don't if you really feel something, you got to go for it. I'm buying Texas A&M. I think they're going to win the game.
I do too.
I do. I will sell. Oklahoma beating Texas. I think Texas is going to boat race them
again.
Yeah,
2 years in a row.
Yeah, I don't believe in Oklahoma.
Okay,
and Kentucky.
They can run the ball.
They can run the ball, but you know what? The reason how come I'll lease it. Georgia just doesn't look like Georgia.
Exactly. Their quarterback is he did look a little bit better in the second half, and that tight end is really good. But I don't know, man. Can he get it done when it matters?
I think Georgia's going to win the game. But if I had to bet and hedge my bet, I would say I would be more. I think I'm more. In my mind, it's more likely that, because of the way Georgia's been playing, that Kentucky is more likely to beat a Georgia team that seems to be struggling than Oklahoma to beat a Texas team that is surging.
How weird is it that I feel the consensus is we feel really good about A&M's chances about Bama, and it says a lot about A&M. It says a lot about Bama too, I think, right?
I think this is the year in which we don't know enough about Bama yet to say how good are they. Couple weeks you think, man, Alabama's really pretty good, but then some other weeks you're like, man, question mark, like South Florida game, for instance. But I think Alabama, nonetheless, is a good football team. I think they're going to be at the top of the SC West one way or the other. They're going to find their way up there. They could be a 3-loss football team in the West. It's going to be a hard-fought football game for A&M if they're going to win this one. So there's no doubt about that. Are they an elite Alabama team? I don't think we've seen that yet. And so I think that's what has most Aggie fans saying, well, they're as beatable this year as they've ever been. And that's a fair statement. But their quarterback gets hot and uses his legs and runs all over you. It's going to be a nightmare. Their defense can be hot and cold. They've got ability. And a Saban coach football team is going to be a tough out. So and if you don't protect the football on offense, it's going to be a long day at the ballpark.
How concerned were you with Max's turnovers? Because he really hasn't had any at A&M, but he did have those 3.
Yeah, that's going to be the Achilles heel. We were actually researching this in the back while y'all were on air, and him and Milroe. Well, the error in the stat is that they both turned it over. They have about a half a turnover a game in their entire career, but Max has more meaningful starts. But the fumbles, I think he's had 8 interceptions and 6 or 7 fumbles in his career that he's lost. That is a concern when you're playing. Turnovers matter, right? That's the most important stat in all of sports. No stat is more correlated to wins and losses than the turnover margin. And so I think he's got to do a better job, especially as a runner, protecting the football. Their interceptions are going to happen. Some of them aren't even your fault, like the screen pass, right?
Right, wasn't his fault.
But as a runner, you got to be super protective.
All right, we got to drop it there. Obi, thank you, sir.
You bet.
When we come back, Ryan Swope and Stephen McGee, the twosome is here. That and more, TexAgs Radio. I got to ask Nick Savage, how long was I not here? How long did the song play, Nick?
Let's see. You were almost a full minute.
Almost
53
a full minute.
seconds.
Apologies. Well, then I'll go long on this segment. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Rollo Insurance Studio. McGee's been with us for a little bit. Now Ryan Swope is in here. Hello, Swopey.
What's up?
I saw you and Bronny kind of, like.
Oh, yeah.
I love the off-air debates.
Yeah, we're getting after it out
I
there.
still think some of the off-air stuff would be the best content.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I want it out there, but it would be some of the best content. Yeah, Ryan likes to stir the pot a little bit, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a long debate at dinner the other night. We went to a birthday dinner for Swopey, and
it was your birthday, I thought.
Well, it was kind of everyone's birthday, let's be honest.
Thanks,
and so
guys. Appreciate it. Mine was a couple weeks ago too.
Happy birthday.
Yeah,
September
10th.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. It's great. I just wanted to go to dinner with you guys. I want to be your friends.
I want a Nuño shirt, by the way. I want CC Creations to create a David Nuño, autograph it. Maybe we can get a Mick Lurk or a Alert for Lucci shirt. Swope and I can have a good brand.
At least 3 people would buy mine. My mom.
I would.
My dad.
I'd buy it.
Yeah, my kids wouldn't, but yeah.
I'd buy it.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. So I just want to take part of that conversation off air that I heard and bring it here. Do you believe in this offense? Because there's somebody out there that's like, this offense needs to start scoring some points. And there is some truth to that, but I don't think that tells the whole story. So, Ryan, I'll let you start.
I mean, I'm not concerned. I think that obviously there's been some unfortunate situations with the quarterback getting hurt, but I think Max has done just fine going in there and getting W's in the SEC West. I mean, that's what you want. And I think I see a little bit different fire from these receivers. I feel like that we've been pretty efficient down the field. And so I like Max. I think he gives us a great,
Can I say
great
what you
opportunity.
said at dinner?
Well, yeah. What did I say?
You like him so much to say that you think he's a potential first, second round pick.
I agree.
Yeah. That tells you
and
how
you
much.
think so too?
I think
you're a quarterback, but I think I told him out there and nothing against Connor, because I think Connor is going to be as well a first or second round pick.
Yeah.
I think we've got 2 of them, which is a great problem to have. But I told him I would rather catch balls from Max Johnson than from Connor.
See, this is what we discussed at dinner.
Wow.
This is good stuff, right?
Yeah. Is it a prettier ball, I guess is what you're saying?
I think that he's been extremely accurate with his throws.
Hey,
and more importantly, at the college level, you've got to be aggressive. And I think Max gives us a better chance down the field, 30, 40-yard passes, to be aggressive and win games.
Okay.
See, so he said, too, when he went to practice with the guys during the training camp, and he watched Max throw, which I've had a lot of people tell me this when they go to practices, like, golly, you watch him throw a football in person, and it's impressive.
Dude,
Max Johnson has a cannon. Like, he looks like a bona fide, legitimate, like, NFL quarterback out there slinging it around, right? And I love that. I don't disagree with anything he said. I think that he very much could be a first, second round pick. He's 6'5",
6'6",
and he's got.
And he can move,
and he's smart.
Yeah,
he's got all the right. He checks all the boxes. I think for me, I love Connor because he doesn't check that arm strength box. Like that's not, you don't get wowed at practice watching him throw. Yeah, he has the quick release. To me, I love, and this is where our argument kind of ventured into, is the tight window throws that Connor can make under pressure and ball placement.
For sure.
If we were to go back and watch the actual tape and say, okay, let's look at all of these throws over their body of their career, I think one of the strengths of Connor's game is his accuracy. He doesn't throw a lot of screen passes. A lot of the quarterbacks today have 70% plus completion percentages. Man, like Colorado, Sanders, how many of those, like 85% of those are screen passes, right?
Right.
So that boosts their completion percentage. That's not necessarily the case with Connor. And I would argue on the deep throws, the thing I love about Connor compared to quarterbacks in the past is that he gives his guys a chance. We talk a lot about, how many quarterbacks in the past, there'd be a guy wide open on a post route and they overthrow him. Well, that's a guaranteed incomplete pass. If you underthrow a deep ball, what happens a lot of times?
Interception.
Well, pass interference.
Pass interference, not interception.
Gotcha.
Come on, David.
If you underthrow it, I think there's a chance to get picked. No.
Well, there is. There is. But there's also a chance for completion. I mean, I feel like you complete more of those than there are going to be interceptions, and you get way more PIs. And so you're giving your guy a chance in a one-on-one situation, as opposed to you overthrow him, you're not giving your guy a chance. There's no chance for a PI either, right? So
I see what you're saying.
But to Swope's point, like both these guys are so good.
I think they're both very talented. They're very different quarterbacks.
They are.
They're very different.
We're not held back because of quarterbacks, though. That's the good news.
Yeah, that's a
or wide receivers, right?
Yeah, I mean, man.
To go back to what you said about maybe a first or second round pick, I did this with Olin earlier when he did his Heisman list, and I was more not joking, but more just thinking out loud. If Max continues to play at this level and A&M continues to win games, and they do go 10-2 with a bowl game coming, a huge game, whatever it may be, are we really talking about maybe next year Max going early in this draft? If that scenario plays out?
Oh, I can't jump that.
This is year 4 though for him.
Yeah, I mean it is year 4
this year. He goes big this year. I mean, the
lot
problem
has
is
to
it's
happen.
crowded. There's a crowded draft. There's so many good quarterbacks this year.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say. It's too early to say that. I mean, do I think he's ready? Probably so. He's had 4 years of play. And what I told McGee at dinner the other night, too, is I think that there was an incredible amount of improvement from Max. And maybe it's the system, too, this offense. But I think that from what I saw at that practice, that Max Johnson looked a lot different from last year's Max Johnson.
Right.
And so that's great. I mean, that means he's working hard at it. He's improving. And, I think this offense fits his style, style of play really well.
So let me ask you guys this. This team looks like a different team in SEC play. Now, granted, Auburn's not going to be very good. Arkansas looks like they're in the middle of a huge spiral downward. But that might be because of what A&M was able to do to both of those quarterbacks.
True.
And you saw what they did, what Auburn did last week against Georgia. They had a chance. So how much are you reading into the early success and how that could maybe dictate something this weekend?
My takeaway from the Auburn-Arkansas games is that we're able to win a West game without having our best performance. We, in both those football games, were the better football team for 4 quarters. There was no doubt. And the score didn't necessarily indicate
how thorough of a beating it was.
Yeah, how thorough of a beating. Like, I don't know if y'all got that feeling. Now, granted, we didn't play our best football game, but I think defensively, the biggest takeaway is that we're getting after the quarterback finally.
I love that.
And that's a huge deal. And
it's
that's
huge
so important
because
this week.
Our back end is,
TBD.
Still.
It concerns me. And I think that's the biggest question mark I told you at dinner was that if we play a team that has a quarterback that can really throw the football, because those two teams don't. Like, they're not going to sit in the pocket and make throws. If we're going to come after the quarterback, you're void on the back end, and they've had guys open every week, and they haven't been able to make the plays. A good quarterback, and even a quarterback like Milroe, like, he's not horrible, but he's not great.
He can
he's
throw,
okay.
Yeah.
But
he's improved a little bit.
He has. But he's not going to be LSU's quarterback or Ole Miss's quarterback. No. They're going to dice us. And so that's the big question mark for me, is that defensive back end, right?
Yeah, but I 100% agree with you. But I will say our defense has stepped up their game.
So you're buying it. What you're saying is you're buying it.
I like how our defense is playing. Like the first 3 weeks, I was kind of like, man, we're not tackling. We're really not, just really not doing a whole lot correct. And I think that whatever they did here over the last couple of weeks, it's really improved. They're tackling better. Everybody's running the football. We're creating turnovers.
They are tackling better, aren't they? Like, it's not just a facade. 100%. They actually are.
And they're having fun, man.
I texted Seth. I was like, hey, can we believe in this football team? And he was like, man, I was like, my concern is that defensive back end. He's like, yeah, but if you get 8 sacks in a game, don't worry about the back end. I was like, well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, that is a good point. And Milroe's been sacked quite a bit this year. So there is that. And hasn't taken on a defensive front. Well, I mean, Texas has got a good defense. You guys didn't hear it. I had an interview with Greg McElroy, and I made a comment. And look, I'm drinking the maroon juice. Of course I am. And I was like, Bama hasn't faced a defensive front like A&M yet. And he goes, whoa, what about Texas? Like, I don't watch enough Texas to know I know they're good. I know, obviously, they could be number 1 in the country. What I've seen these last 2 weeks against SEC teams, that speaks to me. Am I that off?
No.
I think you have so many other guys too, right? Yeah. It's not just one guy making all the plays. There's a plethora up there. There's depth. It seems repeatable. It's going to be important to keep their quarterback confined to the pocket. He does not want to operate on time and making throws from pocket. He wants to get outside the pocket and be able to use his legs and then find guys wide open on extended pass plays. On-time pass plays, getting rid of the football under pressure when he has to find hot. That's not his game.
Right.
So as a defensive coordinator, the challenge is pressuring him, but when you bring those pressures, being disciplined in your pass rush lane so that guy can't break the pocket. He's got to get rid of the ball in the pocket.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about the mistakes we've been seeing. Because if you want to beat Bama, can you make some of the mistakes we've seen in these? Because you talked about this team not being the score wasn't indicative of the thorough beating because of the mistakes, the fumbles, the interceptions, the false starts, the drop balls in the red zone, like all these things. Can they beat Bama with that recipe? I don't think you can.
No, it's hard to win really any football game. You got to eliminate those penalties, got to eliminate the drops, got to eliminate all that stuff, shooting yourself in the foot, jumping off sides. And that all comes down to just being focused. Bottom line, our team's got to be more focused than Alabama. And I think that if we're focused and we're ready and, we prepare correctly, which I know those coaches have these guys, ready to go, I think we can win this game by a couple touchdowns, honestly. But I think we've got more talent, which is crazy to say. We've got more talent than Alabama. And so you'd love to see
or the right talent,
I'd love to
maybe.
see it. Yeah, exactly.
Steven?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with Swope. Like, I feel like this is the year where we're saying we're better on paper, which is crazy. It feels like it's been an uphill battle to get to where we are today. But, a vast majority of the positions on the field, you're going to say, hey, I'm going to take my guy over their guy. And that's a good sign. Now, what do they have that we don't? Well, they've won a lot of football games over there. Those guys in the locker room and that coach, they know how to run a program. They know how to win. And they're going to come in here ready to go. And when you have an Alabama team that has a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, that can be dangerous too.
Yeah, I know. That's what worries me.
But A&M should have the biggest chip on their shoulder after the way last season went, and knowing that they could have beaten this team 2 years in a row on that last play. Like, there's a lot of on our
You hope so, but sometimes athletes can fall victim to reading their recent press clippings, right?
Yeah.
Good and bad, right? So after the Miami game, you can sulk for too long, and you allow that game to beat you again the next week, and then sometimes everyone's pumping you up, telling you how good you are, and you start believing that a little too much, and you lose the chip. So, look, these are 18 to 22-year-old kids. There's a lot that can go on in their head.
We are almost 14 minutes into this segment, and I haven't brought up Ainias Smith. Can we talk a little bit about Ainias Smith? Because in the beginning, when we talked about him the early part of the year, it was kind of quiet, waiting. He's had a couple big moments.
He has. I love that kid. I love his just winning mentality. He brings a lot of energy to this football team, a lot of leadership. And I think when he's clicking and he's rolling, I think it's contagious. I think the team feeds off of him. And, man, let's keep getting that dude involved.
He's unbelievable. He's my favorite player because the way he plays the game.
I love him.
He's all about the team.
Fun, man.
Yeah, he just competes. Coach, put me in a defensive back. Yeah,
wherever
I just want to play football.
I love his mindset.
You can't coach that kind of compete, that kind of will to win and unselfishness. That guy's special.
Yeah.
Remember, heading into the season, the theory was this wide receiver room is so talented. It may be Evan one day, it may be Noah one day, it may be Ainias, and it's playing out that way, right? Like, that's what we've seen. Even Ja'Day Walker had it. He didn't have the best game against Arkansas, but he's had his moments too.
Yeah. You know what Muhammad, where's he been? He was so good last year.
He's playing, but not playing. He's out there sometimes. Yeah.
He hasn't
had the moments like he had last year. Now, granted, he hadn't had the opportunities like he had last year either.
Well, that's the thing, the opportunities.
Which is surprising because, Ja'Day came in. And then Noah Thomas hasn't really had an impact in how many weeks now?
Yeah, it's been a bit.
And they need him.
In this game, they absolutely
He's
need
a difference maker when he's healthy and he's playing well. I don't know what's going on there.
There's so much depth at receiver.
They're spoiled.
The offensive line. You were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say something. I think that's going to dictate the football game. Our O-line, Alabama's O-line, whoever plays better wins.
Amen. That's well said. That's it, man. The battle of the trenches.
And they've looked. Am I right? Like I feel like Max, even Connor before he got hurt, was protected way more than we saw, especially against Miami. Right?
I agree. I think that offensive line's gotten a ton better. Now, what drives me crazy are the pre-snap penalties that seem to be sticking. I mean, like the cadence issues, getting that fixed, guys getting jumpy, bad snap, like things that just can't happen. Like those are the types of things that drive you crazy. But the pocket in pass pro, it's been pretty good. Especially,
I've been impressed.
Especially since Max has been there. Like I feel like they've done a really, really good job. They've gotten better. To Swope's earlier point, talking about quarterback play, just guys improving. I think that offensive line, they don't get talked about near enough about the improvement. Connor was taking some poundings early, right?
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
Like there's free rushers. Guys are just losing, flat out getting their butt kicked. You don't see that as much anymore. And we're able to run the football. Like
especially in the fourth quarter too.
In the fourth quarter in the West. I don't care if you're playing the bottom of the barrel, Auburn or Arkansas, whoever that is. Like it's difficult to do, and that's impressive. So you've got to tip your hat to those guys, right?
So do you guys, I think you already answered my next question, but is the key to the game the trenches, which it always is, but especially in this game, whose O-line shows up the most? Is that the key? Is it the turnovers? What if you had to pick one, what would it be?
For sure. I think so. I mean.
Which one?
The battle of the trenches.
Yeah.
Offense versus defensive line. I think, obviously, I think Alabama's O-line, skeptical. You could say ours is, but I think the last 2 weeks they've really proved themselves. They've improved week by week, and they've only gotten better. And so if we can win that up front, I think that we've got a better chance of winning the football game.
I 100% agree. I think turnovers is the most important stat in football. I said that earlier, but I think what leads to turnovers is the battle in the trenches.
Yeah.
Getting pressure on the quarterback. That's where turnovers happen. Like if you're around guys in the pocket, they're a tick late, that allows your defensive end to a little extra tick of a second to break on a football, to get a pass deflection or get a turnover, whatever that is, or getting a sack fumble. Like that's where it wins. So the offensive line and defensive line, that's why games are won and lost, because that's where turnovers start.
If Mississippi State was able to get 4 sacks on Jalen Milroe, and he's been sacked, I think, 5 times against Bama, 4 times against Ole Miss. Outside of Texas, those D-lines are not the same kind of D-line that A&M has. What is that magic number? Is it another 5 or 6 sack game to win this one?
Yeah. That would be huge.
That'd be great.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of
pressure.
Mississippi State got 4, right? Like this guy, I was looking through some of his numbers, if I can find them here. But he's been sacked 15 times this year, 11 going into that Mississippi State game, 5 times against Texas and 4 times against Ole Miss.
That's a bad stat.
But the last 2 weeks, how many sacks have we had? 14?
14 in the last 2 games.
I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah.
It's fair. He takes sacks like that. Remember earlier in the year I talked about why one of the reasons I love Connor is Connor doesn't take sacks. Great quarterbacks don't take sacks. Look at Peyton Manning. I guarantee you look up the history, like how many sacks they take per game. It's not many.
Yeah.
But bad quarterbacks, they hold on to the football.
They do. Yeah. Hey, so here's one that I found this morning that was interesting as I was researching that. Tyler Van Dyke has been sacked 2 times this year only.
Oh, my God.
Both by A&M.
Wow.
I'm telling you, man, there's something to be said about that.
There is something to be said about that. All right, who's going to get it done?
The team's good. Do what?
Who's going to get it done, Swope?
Max Johnson.
All right.
I love it, dude.
Yeah.
Max Johnson, baby.
Let's get it.
I hope Ronnie heard that.
I hope he did too.
All right, I'm going to one-up that. I'm going to say Big Bad Brad gets it done this week. I hear he's going, he's ripping the shirt and the pants this week.
Let's go.
He's going rip away. Woo! He's getting fired up. That section better come ready because Brad Johnson's going to pack a lunch.
Oh, I love it. I hope that's the case. Who didn't get it done this past weekend in college football? Duke didn't get it done.
I was going to say Duke. We watched it. Yeah, McGee. I mean, and then obviously LSU.
LSU definitely hasn't been getting it done.
No.
I'm worried about them this weekend against Missouri.
I am too, kind of.
Yeah, they're hot and cold, man. I don't get that. I don't get LSU, but it's not my problem to worry about. I care less.
Yeah. I'll tell you who didn't get it done is the U.S. Ryder Cup team.
Oh, yeah.
True. That was awful. God. Embarrassing. Zach Johnson, bless his heart, that's what he's going to be remembered by. I'm sorry.
Golly, that was embarrassing.
So you talked, OB said Oklahoma has no chance against Texas. This is an interesting take. What's your thought on Oklahoma? Because I know Swope's a big fan.
Oh, I'll take OU. I think that they're a really good football team.
Do you really?
I do, but
he like the quarterback, and he's playing. That's a
Gabriel,
different football team this year. Oklahoma's much better than they were last year. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
The winner of that, because there's only 2 ranked teams in the Big 12. The winner of that, goodness gracious.
Doesn't that scare you?
It does. It does.
That's so bad.
Please no, just lose. Please.
And then you're hoping that Iowa State somehow miracle.
I know.
But of course,
they will.
The week Kansas
plays
plays Texas, the quarterback doesn't play. Of course, it's just the way it is. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate it.
Right now, we're talking about the Charge Apparel, Aggie-owned, purpose-driven apparel brand. They're veteran-owned and operated, donating 12% of their total sales to organizations that support U.S. veterans and mental health initiative. It is an ode to the 12th man. They stand in support of those servicemen and women by donating 12% of all those sales to U.S. veteran mental health initiatives, as I mentioned. A couple of great Aggies, too. You're going to love them. Tucker and Travis have done really cool work here. They met in the Parsons Mounted Cavalry. They went into the military afterwards, and then when they separated from the military, they started the Charge Apparel. And they've done great work. And if you're talking about the best clothing out there, the polos that they have, especially that maroon one that's now on sale, it is awesome. Slightly tailored fit throughout the chest and the arms. Go check out the website to learn more about it. It is thechargeapparel.com, thechargeapparel.com. Find them on Instagram at thechargeapparel or on X at thechargebrand. Do me a favor. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, guys. When it works, it's awesome. Sorry about earlier in the day. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Great conversation there with Steven and Ryan Swope. Of course, one of the things we talked about as they were walking out, like, how in are we? We're pretty in. I'm predicting them to win. Winning here does change the entire narrative, right? They still got to do way more, as I don't have to keep re-saying it, but that's the fact of it. It'll be interesting. So I've teased it a few times. If you haven't gone to TexAgs.com or YouTube to listen to my interview with Greg McElroy, I'm going to give you a little bit of a snippet from that interview before we have Schloss here in studio. But just take a listen. And look, I don't watch a lot of Texas. I'm sorry. And there was no disrespect meant in my commentary. It was more of how I think this defensive line is playing. But you'll hear our exchange when I talk about Bama not taking on a D-line like A&M's. Here it is. All right, our first guest is a national championship quarterback, also a darn good football analyst there at ESPN. Greg McElroy joining us here on Up to the Second College Football. Greg, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How are y'all?
Doing wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. So let's get right into it. This Bama A&M game. For a couple years, we've been talking about it meaning something, and then A&M has dropped the ball leading up to it. This year, it doesn't feel like they've dropped the ball heading into it. What do you expect to see on Saturday from the kind of game?
Well, I think it's obviously a huge game. I think the winner of this game probably wins the West, just based on what we've seen between LSU's inconsistencies, Ole Miss's inconsistencies. I don't see Mississippi State at the moment being a factor. So looking at just how these teams match up against what's left on the schedule, obviously both A&M and Bama have to play Tennessee. So that's one that I guess you could lose. Bama gets Kentucky. That's a tricky one. A&M, I think, given the way they're not really protecting Spencer Rattler, they should get their crossover game against South Carolina. So the winner of this game is going to have a 2-game edge in the SEC, essentially. A game and a half, technically, with the head-to-head being in their favor. So it'd be hard for me to envision either one of these two teams losing 2 games in the conference. So I think this, for all intents and purposes, will decide it. And I look at the matchups on both sides, and these teams match up pretty well against each other. And frankly, I hate to kind of water it down to something that seems as simple as this, but I really think, look, Max Johnson's got a little bit of a turnover issue in his career. So does Jalen Milroe, and this might be a game that could very well be decided by a turnover or 2. And that might ultimately be what decides it, because I think both teams have a lot of talent, and both teams have steadily improved over the course of the last couple of weeks, to the point now where I think they're playing pretty good football.
Well, let's talk about Jalen Milroe for a second, because I feel like they finally tailored their offense to fit his skills, and he's playing at a high level, yet he hasn't taken on a defense like A&M since maybe Texas, and I don't think Texas has the same level of defense.
As A&M?
Yeah.
Whoa. All right, a little home cooking.
Well,
I like
a lot of home cooking for what I've seen in the SEC. And Greg, what they've done in the SEC has been pretty remarkable. They haven't done it all year yet.
I mean, we can't necessarily ignore the Miami game. I mean, goodness gracious, I think they gave it 300 yards after catch in that game, or so it felt like. All joking aside, I think Texas is legit on defense, really, really good. I think A&M is, come on. I think the defensive line for A&M is as disruptive as you'll find. And obviously Shamar, the way he's playing right now, is amazing. I mean, you see 300-pounders that are on the edge that are getting home, right? I mean, that's to showcase that kind of quickness is pretty remarkable. So I do think that this will be by far the toughest test that Jalen Milroe has seen since Texas. I think both secondaries, Texas and Texas A&M, those would be the question marks. For me, I think Texas' secondary is very gettable. I think A&M's secondary at the moment, I'm just not sure. I think that's the position group that we're going to need to learn a little bit more about. But I think Milroe has progressed. They have tailored the offense a little bit to his skill set, a little more design quarterback run. He's been a little bit more decisive. Hey, if it's not there, just go get north and south. So that I think has been beneficial, but they're still giving up a lot of sacks. And with Jalen Milroe, with the quarterback, you'd think, okay, you have a guy that's crazy mobile. But sometimes that mobility can hurt you as far as sack numbers are concerned, because Jalen Milroe always believes he can make a play. You know what I mean? He always believes he can make the guy miss and potentially turn what would be a negative play that would result in an 8-yard loss into maybe
All right, that is my interview there, most of it, or part of it, I should say, with Greg McElroy. Check it out on Up to the Second College Football. That's on our YouTube page where you should go subscribe right now. Help us get those numbers up. Of course, you can watch it on TexAgs.com. All right, we're going to hit a break. When we come back, we're talking to Jim Schlafsnagel and Ryan Broninger. Fall ball tomorrow, Houston Christian in town for that. A lot to talk about with Coach Schloss, some of the new players, how pitching's looking, how the offense is looking. A lot to get into. Right now, we're talking about Heritage Films, and that's my buddy's company, Chance McLean. I've told you before, I don't like to do business with friends because it can get messy, but with doing business with Chance is not going to get messy because he's the best at what he does, and that I can guarantee it. He does these documentary films about families, about family businesses, family ranches, and now about your kids, right? The Yearflix option, which is on the heritagefilms.com, is an awesome option for you to do a 20-minute interview, Q&A style. You don't do it, Chance will do it, about your kid and find out a little bit about them, stuff you didn't know and stuff you do know, but be able to capture that moment as a benchmark video. He's recently gotten into some college kids doing it, right? Families of Aggies and non-Aggies, right? They're just saying, hey, let's document each year of my college kid's life, right? Let's just do freshman year, sophomore year, and he's doing these benchmark videos throughout. So many cool options you can do with Heritage Films, and of course, you know what he does the best, which is the Heritage Film, the documentary about your dad, about your uncle, tell the whole family story that can be passed down from generation to generation. And also, if you got some cool family events or maybe some buddy events that you do, you know, Steven's going hunting real soon, right? Imagine, I think that would probably be awkward to have a camera crew with you as you're hunting, but why not, right? He can capture that and keep that story for generations to come. The website is yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Of course, a lot of attention on the A&M football-Alabama game this weekend, but fall ball starting as well. Jim Schlossnagle is in studio. Houston Christian coming in town tomorrow. Ryan Broninger's with us. Schloss, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
So
I'm doing well too, David. Thank you.
I already said hi to you earlier.
Okay.
But I guess I said hi to him when he walked in the studio.
That's
too,
okay.
so
Yeah.
Different people have different privileges around here.
You ready for winter?
I am. I'm driving to Oklahoma today. It's supposed to be like 40-something degrees when I get up there,
Yeah.
50 degrees. So,
Hey, Schloss, obviously every year's a different team, but this year a little bit different team. Just talk to me about excitement level, getting it all started with a different opponent, not yourselves, tomorrow.
Yeah, just really excited to get out on the field, see somebody else, and mainly have the fans in the stands. I think my first year here, we played our first fall game on a Friday night before Alabama and had 4,000 or 5,000 people, or what felt like that, in the ballpark. So hopefully we'll have that again tomorrow night. It's free, open to the public. There'll be some limited concessions there, but yeah, it should be a lot of fun. And just looking forward to seeing, especially our new guys who haven't played under the lights in front of a crowd against an opponent, whether it be freshmen or transfers. Just excited to see them compete and see how they handle it.
this offseason, you gave promotions to Michael Early as they expanded the coaching staff and allowed you guys to do that, but also to Nolan Kane. And you were outspoken on whenever y'all had the pitching coach transition and just kind of the role that Nolan played in keeping what you had intact, and also both of you guys a hand in what you brought in. But I still think people the fan base doesn't quite understand the job that Nolan does. So I wanted you to take a minute to just speak to what kind of coach he is, but then the recruiting side, is there a better one in the country in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I don't think so, but I mean, that's super perceptive of you to bring that up in that way. And Nolan has always, long before I hired him, when he was at LSU, he's long been known for his recruiting success and his talent that way, but he's a really good coach. Mm-hmm. And having, played at LSU, he didn't play for Coach Burtman, but he's in that tree. And then play and work for Paul Maneri, a Hall of Fame coach. We want to keep him here as long as we can, but he's the associate head coach for a reason, because he knows how to run a program and he has a great feel for it. I don't know how I personally would have survived the 4 weeks after the regional, simply because of the coaching changes, some support staff changes, the transfer portal, trying to hold on to Grahovic and Sorrell and Jack Bell and Isaac Morton and all the other, high-end high school players we had in the draft. And it was literally 24 hours a day. And then I had some head coach responsibilities away from town. I mean, Nolan was literally the glue that kept this thing. I don't know if I want to say kept it together, because it's not like it was falling apart, but there was just a lot of moving parts. And of course we have camp going on, and Hutch is a rock star, and Chuck Box and Will Fox at running that. So, but yeah, Nolan is an elite coach. He has great feel for the game. He's a really good third base coach. He's really developed as a great catching guy. But I think when we had those press conferences, one of our associate athletic directors texted me and said, "Wow, Nolan Kane looked like a head coach when he was standing there talking." And so he is a future head coach. We just want to make sure he doesn't go anywhere unless it's for a super great place.
Yeah, and you mentioned some of those freshmen. You mentioned them in your press conference. You just mentioned them there. I wrote a story. It'll be coming out later on the site, David, about this freshman position player group. And I know that there's going to be a lot of pitchers as well that play a really big role in y'all's season probably. You never know. Fall ball phenoms and the real thing are different. But, I mean, you said this is the most talented freshman group you've ever had. What is it? Is it just the talent, or are you more surprised about the production early on?
I would say all of it. I would say just watching their pure talent. So talent to me is, the five tools: hit, run, throw, defense, and hit for power. And so just you look at those tools, and then you watch how they take that into a ball game, how they handle the challenges that I put before them. So, I'm trying to be as strategic as I can when I'm making out inter squad lineups to say, I want to see Jack Bell against this tough lefty, or I want to see Grahovic against this guy, or see how he handles this or that, or move him around. How does Jack Bell handle just his body language? How's he handle not playing shortstop? Let's move him over to third base. And Jack's inquisitive. He asks questions. Sorrell, most high school outfielders start off they're in center field. They come to college and they may not play center like Jace did in last year. So how they've handled everything to today, October the 5th, has been awesome. That's not the end all. We all know that when the lights come on Friday, when the lights come on in the season, things can go better or things can get worse. But I'm very confident in who they are as people, and they're already talented.
I want to follow that up with Brandon Montgomery. Big splash when he was able to transfer here. Just how has he acclimated himself? Has he been exactly what you expected?
Yeah, he's been way more than what I just didn't know him. You don't really know him, and what I told him when we recruited him is I don't want a transactional relationship with a player. I don't want this to be, hey, you come here and you give us this, and we'll give you this, and then in June, hopefully in Omaha, we'll say goodbye to each other and good luck in pro ball. I want this to be a transformational thing. I need you to dive into being an Aggie, and you really, this time next year, man, you're gonna miss this. Like every guy that was on our team last year that's in pro ball, they miss this. They miss college, and this time next year, you're going to be doing this for yourself and not for a team. And so we've had some great conversations that way. He has dove into his teammates. He's literally in Max's office almost every day. We've really committed to giving him every opportunity as a pitcher to develop, and so therefore he's going to play a little bit of outfield Friday night, but he hasn't really played outfield in an inter-squad game but maybe one or two times because I promised him we're going to try and take it easy on his body. You're going to get all the swings that you possibly need. You'll run the bases as much as we need you to do to learn our system, but your focus is going to be on the mound, and then we'll get through fall practice, and we'll look at it and see what his thoughts are. So he has a voice in his own development, but he is an ultra team guy, and Aggie should be excited about that.
Your expectations, you mentioned Jace making a positional move. Also, Ryan Targoch, the two big returners off of last year's team. Targo kind of bouncing around on the infield. He came in here for an NIL interview. Said, the focus is going to be keeping his feet on the dirt. But just what have you seen out of those returners?
Well, Targo, yeah. Well, I can't, knock on wood, if there was a scenario where he was playing the outfield, that means two or three really good players got hurt. But we're trying to keep him bouncing between second and first base. Sometimes where a player plays isn't just reflective of who he is, it's reflective of the rest of the team and how other people fit in and who's injured and who can do what. But Targo's made some awesome swing adjustments, so he's looked great. Coffer, I think, has caught well, has put together better at-bats of late. Jace,
stronger, too. Max, noticeably bigger.
Infinitely stronger, infinitely more confident. He's still 18.
Yeah.
I mean, we still put him in the. I still think of him as a freshman. Caden Kent, bigger, stronger.
Mm-hmm.
His arm was already good. It's actually better. He really can throw. He's not that. He's got outstanding tools, but he's not that super toolsy player. He's that true gritty baseball player, and so he stays on the ball. And he's can play just about any position on the field. In terms of position players, I'm not sure who else.
Jace.
Jace. Jace, we know who Jace is. Chestnut's been a guy who's been impressive. I'm going to challenge him from this point forward on we're trying to get him at the top of some lineups to make sure he faces the best arms on our staff versus some guys that may or may not make the team. I want to make sure that's real, but. He's playing an awesome center field. He can move into second base at any time, and if he gets on base, man, he changes games.
Yeah, he does.
But this is a tough team to play on.
Yep,
and so a lot of the success of our team is going to be determined by ego or lack thereof, and just waiting your turn and see what happens.
I want to bring up Evan Oschenbeck as I would assume a teachable moment for you, for a guy that wasn't even a thing this time last year, and how that can apply towards this year's roster.
Yeah, I think we were talking just outside with OB. Coaches think they know. I mean, I think I know. All you can do is go off what you see and go off your past experiences. But the games are what tell you. The games are what tell you who the players are. And this time last year, we were thinking about cutting Aschenbeck. Mm-hmm. I mean, not seriously, but he was. When you have a 40-man roster, you're like, he's 38, 39. But I was like, whoever cut a strike throwing left-handed pitcher, like who doesn't need that guy? So, but then when we get into the season, because we had beat him up pretty good in the fall, when we get into the season, he becomes obviously our most valuable pitcher, most reliable pitcher, and just excelled. So some guys look like Tarzan, play like Jane in the practice. Or in the games, practice to games, whereas other guys do the opposite. And Evan is, we're super thankful he's on our team.
Let's hit a break here. We'll come back with
we'll
one more
talk some
segment.
more pitching for sure.
We'll get to some pitching with Jim Schlossnagle here on TexAgs Radio. All right, TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Got Schloss and Bronny in studio. Schloss, I did want to ask you quickly about the U of H game, which is something you haven't done since you've been here, a fall ball game on the road.
Right. Yeah. Number one, Coach Whitting came up here. Houston came up here, I think, my first year. So he gently reminded me that we owed them a game. And then when I found out when he wanted to play the game, which is a Friday night, October the 20th, the night before they play Texas in this is their first year in the Big 12, right? In football and everything. So they'll have Texas at home, which I'm sure it's been a long time since that's happened for the Cougars. So I felt like, wow, that'll be great. Should have a great crowd, and that'll be good for our team. And we obviously have a lot of Aggie fans in Houston area, so hopefully we'll have a big crowd there as well.
Yeah.
Just early returns on Coach Max. I know there was a reason why you hired him. but you never really know how somebody's going to be till you work day to day with him. And have your expectations of him or what he was going to be changed at all compared to what he is?
Yeah, nothing's changed. If anything, everything's gotten better because you get to work with him and see what he's like on a day-to-day basis. Works his rear end off, is super loyal, super positive, but not Pollyanna. There's a big difference between positive thinking and having your head
look that word up.
Head in the clouds.
Pollyanna.
Yeah.
That's never been used on TexAgs Radio before.
It's from a movie.
What does it mean then, David?
From the Pollyanna's a movie, right? I'm correct on that.
The Polly movie with was Jennifer Aniston in that movie?
Along Came Polly?
Along Came Polly, yeah.
Pollyanna Dictionary. Here we go.
Pollyanna.
He's English second
Pollyanna
language.
thinking.
The term derives from Eleanor Report. Okay, you
whatever. What's happening right now?
Unjustifiably optimistic attitude.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect. He used it perfect.
Yeah, so he's not unjustifiably optimistic. He's optimistic, right? Max is, but very knowledgeable. Knows all of the new age stuff, which is fine in the bullpen, right? But when you get in the game, it's about winning the game and who gets people out, and whether the pitch shape or the spin rate or all these things, whether they line up or they don't line up, does it get the hitter out? And so that was the most important thing to me, is that there was a difference between development and winning, because as I say every day, there's a scoreboard, and that's what counts.
And there's also, I think, from my observation, there's a juxtaposition between what he is in the bullpen and what he is in the dugout when he's calling pitches, because you go down there and you watch him work with the pitchers in the bullpen, and it is like they've got the slow-mo cameras, you've got the TrackMan numbers on it, he's really working with mechanical stuff, and then I hear him all the time in the dugout, hey, make this your 0-0, dominate the zone. Like, it's really dumbs down the thinking when they go to the game mound.
Yeah, you're right. He does, and I think you'll even see more of that in the spring. And all of that stuff is dependent on the pitcher, right? So Aschenbeck, we know he's going to throw strikes. He may be working on a particular pitch, trying to make his breaking ball better. You've seen that with Lampkin, right? We know he can go get hitters out with his fastball, but for Lampkin to step into that Asa Lacy, high first-round type pitcher, it has to be more than the fastball. And so yeah, I think it's different for each pitcher, but at the end of the day, when he's saying that make your 0-0, he's saying, hey, throw the freaking ball down the middle of the plate and give us a chance. Because I do think, eventually if we get the right guys out there, we're going to play good defense. And he brings such a wealth of experience. Kids look at him, and he came out of the major leagues, came out of professional baseball, and when he says, hey, 94% of the time when you throw the first pitch over the plate, 94% of the time you either get the ball back as it's either a strike or an out, right?
Yeah.
And so it just gives them, if I say that, what do you know, right? You're just the head coach. You're like my old dad. Well, we have this new bright, shiny guy who came out of professional baseball and has skins on the wall, and so it's good for our pitchers, gives them confidence. You
mentioned Lampkin, but I think a name that a lot of the A&M fan base is kind of interested in seeing him take potentially the next step in his progression is Chris Cortez. So how do you think that relationship has melded? And what have you seen out of Chris so far this fall?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him throw. Obviously, he throws hard, but we all know that doesn't mean anything these days. It helps. It's sexy, but he's the shape of his breaking ball is better. His changeup is outstanding. So I just think it's a matter of harnessing that. He's done that. He's thrown enough strikes. We've also, as a coach during the inter-squad games, I want the pitchers to dominate the hitters. But when the pitchers make a bad pitch, I want the hitters to hammer it. And so I think the fact that Chris isn't walking people, but maybe he's had a few times where he's gotten hit some. I mean, I'll take my chances on that. I mean,
sure.
As he continues to make his pitches better and throw them in the strike zone, then I still believe in him. I'm his biggest fan, and he's going to start the game tomorrow night.
Any other pitchers that you mentioned the freshman group, Isaac Morton, Brett Antolik, Caden Wilson, Jason Bowden. Every time I've been out there and seen those guys, it's like, holy crap, like these guys are going to pitch. But I think you've also got some really interesting transfer guys come in and maybe even like a guy like Tanner Jones pushing to be in the rotation right now. Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to say who wouldn't be in the rotation, but Tanner Jones has exceeded my expectations only because my only expectation came from watching him on video. His velocity's up. Max has helped him add a pitch. So he's got the good changeup. He's got the good slider. He's got a little cutter now, and he throws those pitches for strikes. And he's a really awesome guy to be around. He brings Alabama, which is not a great word this week, but just kind of a Southern mentality, and he's a lot of fun to be around.
Schloss, I appreciate your time, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Gig 'em.
Ronnie, safe travels, buddy.
Yeah, I'm hoping I won't be back for the game, but I'm hoping that Richard will do a good enough job on the thread that I can keep up with what's going on. But I plan on being there at Schrader Park there at U of H, so looking forward to that.
Awesome. All right, we got to hit a break here. When we come back, the Fan Show, guys. Sorry about that. They're next on TexAgs Radio. All right, everybody. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Time for the Fan Show presented by Girard Construction. They're custom home builders for the Brazos Valley since 2002. They don't just build homes. They build relationships. Learn more at girard-construction.com. Hunter Shurtleff with us. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Matt Browning. Hey, buddy.
Yo, what's up?
And I think Kelly will be here in a minute.
Kelly's running a little behind.
Yeah, he's
Hey,
got...
I'm gonna stop you for just a second. I want to go ahead and say something while it's still fresh in our minds.
Yes, sir.
Your interview with Greg McElroy.
Yeah.
Great interview, by the way.
Thank you.
I got to disagree with him though.
On Texas defense?
Yeah. When you said that, he was like
offended.
appalled by that.
Yeah. Almost like he went to school there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Right. He's taken that one. First of all, to say that, to be so appalled by you saying that A&M has probably a better defense than Texas does. First of all, talent-wise, there's no doubt.
Well, mine was more about the defensive line.
Yeah, but either way, but he's sitting there. Who they played? Number one, they caught the only good team they played is Bama, and they caught them when they are still trying to figure things out. Right? I mean, what makes him think that Texas their defense is so much better than ours? He's nerd.
He's full Johnson on Texas right now because I listen to him a lot and catch him in the morning sometimes. Yeah. He is all in.
He said they're the most complete team in college football. They beat a down Bama team. Congratulations, you've beaten no one else. Let's see what you do.
Well, A&M better beat that down Bama team, and I don't think they're as down as they were when they played.
But we've gotten better since Miami. Bama's gotten better since Texas. So, but I just had to. I wanted to.
Well, I'm glad. And looky here.
What's up, bud?
Kelly Adams, how are you,
Rolling
sir?
in.
Doing well.
Yeah? What's going on,
Rolling in
buddy?
like the Luch.
Well, let's three more minutes for Luch.
I try not to be late. Sometimes it doesn't work.
Kelly, I'll start with you. What is on your mind?
Y'all don't want to know what's on my mind.
We already know.
The Rangers won.
We already know.
Yeah. Anyway, that's not what's on my mind.
Great series win. Congratulations.
We'll take it.
Good
winning on Saturday is on my mind other than the Rangers.
Yeah.
It's a big game.
And everyone just turned off the radio. Congratulations.
The Saturday part they love. They love that part.
There are some people who like that I talk about the Rangers. It's like two, but there's not very many.
I love hockey.
New York Rangers. Mr. Shurtleff, what is on your mind?
Well, it's going to be a glorious Saturday, right? It's going to push through. We're going to have 75 degrees and sunshine. And although we would all enjoy the 6 or 6:30 kick, 2:30 in the afternoon, that's going to be perfect.
Sounds good.
Second best, yeah.
It's going to be a beautiful day for football.
I mean, I get it. We're unranked, which, by the way, we're being completely unfairly punished for that Miami loss. But that's all right. I get it. We got to win. But this is a big, big game, man. And I will not go negative Nelly, as Mr. Lucci likes to pin me as. So
I thought that was me. He pinned me at that.
But sometimes we can step in it in these stages, and but we've shown that we can do it before. That 2016 Tennessee I know we don't have game day. It's kind of feeling like that. This is big. The crowd knows it's big. 12th man knows it's big. Clearly, the students do when they got a line wrapped around to the training facility last week. So
it's gonna be loud. It's going to be rowdy.
You heard that soundbite from the Alabama football players. Like, we want to get them to leave early, right?
Yeah,
well, no, we're going to stay late.
That's not generally how it works.
Good luck.
I'm not predicting this, but if A&M were to win and the fans decided to get on the field, something tells me they may whisper. Yeah.
Please don't.
I don't want to either.
Let's act like if we do win this game, let's act like we've been there before. All right?
We have.
We have. We've been there. It's rare, but we have been there. Don't rush the field if we win, please.
If you're some 20-year-old, I mean, let them. They're going to do what they want.
They decide.
Yeah,
they decide. Have you told me what's on your mind, or was that Greg McElroy?
No. It was. I just wanted to get that while I was fresh.
Okay.
I just wanted to get.
What else is on your mind?
Oh man, I mean, huge weekend, right?
Yeah.
Woo! I'm pretty excited. Excited is not the right word. I'm pumped. I mean, this is it. This is why we love college football. A weekend like this, you've got the best opponent coming to town that we're going to play here at home. I'm not saying they're the best opponent we're going to play this year. They probably are, but it's our best home game. We've got a chance for the first time since we've been in the SEC, truly, to really take the lead in the division. Right. This is the first time to really kind of push ourselves forward. I think everything leading up to this game has shown that we have improved quite a bit. And it's really funny, kind of the sense that I'm getting from other fans around town Tell me if y'all are seeing the same thing. But normally we come to this game and you'll have a few. You'll have some people going, "I think we can win," and then some people are like, "I don't know," and then other ones like, "I just hope we don't get beat." I haven't heard that.
Most people are like, "I think
everyone thinks we're going to win."
Yeah,
everyone here thinks we're going to win. Everybody in Bama thinks they're going to win, right? But the fact of the matter is to have that confidence after Miami, our one-off, which was just. It was a bad game, and I don't blame them for not ranking us yet. We went 5-7 last year. We got blown up by Miami. We've beaten nothing but pretty average teams thus far. But it's the way we've beaten them is what's given us that confidence going into this one to just say, matchup wise, we match up really well with this Bama team.
Hunter, when's the last time, and everybody jump in, but when's the last time we felt this good, or how often have we felt this good heading into the Bama game? And Billy brought up 2013 is the last time this good
Absolutely.
Heading into the Bama game.
That's easy. That was
100%.
a home game. We have a returning Heisman Trophy winner.
Yep.
And still some pieces left from that 12 team.
So 10 years.
Other than that, yeah, every time. You know why? Because you're saying that, we really feel better about it this week, because every other time we've been a 10-point, 13-point, 17-point dog coming in this game. That's just the reality of it. We've been double digits almost throughout the series, right? So, and have played them tough a couple times, right? And we've got 2 victories out of 11, 12.
Yeah.
So no, this is different.
Yeah, this is the one. This is that one that's just you're sitting back going, okay, this is it.
Yeah.
This is what we've been waiting for 10 years. I mean, this is why we came to the SEC. This is all of the accumulation is here, right? And this is the first big step in that direction. Winning this game against a down. This is not the same Bama teams we've had in the past, right? That's not Tua. That's not Mac Jones. That's not Jalen Hurts. It's not Bryce Young. It's not Jerry Jeudy and Devontae Smith and
what was it? 6 first-round wide receivers.
Yeah, name all their guys, Jalen Waddles and all that, right? It's not. There's not Will
Derrick
Anderson.
Henry.
Yeah, there's not. This is not
Mark
that
Ingram.
team. This is not their best team they've brought.
And yet they still may win 10 games.
And they still could. That's Bama, right? That is Bama. But to beat them at home, we've really got to win this game. It was so funny too, as I've thought so much about this. Like, I would not be surprised if we won big. I would love it. I'm not saying that we're going to. I did not say that. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if we lost big.
No,
right?
yeah.
I mean, all of those things are kind of on the table, and it's a really weird dynamic because we haven't had that dynamic in this series thus far.
Which makes that Miami loss a game that you did not play well, but you still could have won.
Yeah.
You really could have won.
Really could have won.
It just hurts. All right, let's go with Kelly. Kelly, with Max, did last week change your perception of the offense in him, even though it was good numbers, he had the turnovers, or do you still feel just as confident with Max?
I feel very confident with Max, but I think more so I feel confident in Petrino. He didn't call the same game. When he had Connor, he called a different game than when he had Max. And I expect that to continue to tweak and continue to mess around and continue to find better ways for Max to play well. And that's what Petrino does. And so I have a lot of confidence in Petrino to let Max do what Max does best, the offense as a whole does best, and for us to put up some points. We can't have the turnovers. One of those was kind of fluky, that fumble touchdown that they just ended up with. That was kind of a fluky deal. Obviously, there was an issue on that interception out to the flat between communication between the receivers and the quarterback. No idea whose fault it was. But I think those things are all very fixable from a turnover perspective, and Petrino's going to call a good game for Max.
Hunter?
I mean, we saw from Max last week is what I thought. He's not the gunslinger, right? He's just not Wigman. I'm not going to complain about what we don't have the rest of the year, right? Max is fine. Max can get the job done. He's better than the last 2 guys that started against Bama for us, right? One of which had the game of his life and a great win. And the other one had a great effort last year, right, to get us, with 2 yards and 2 seconds to make a touchdown. So I'm just envisioning Max is a 2 to 250 yards guy. He does great with his legs. I worry a little bit about he has a tendency under pressure to scramble back, kind of back into the left. It's most Stephen McGee days. Right. What's up, Stephen? Makes some bad decisions when he's going down or scrambling. He likes to kind of try to chunk it, throw it away. Did that at LSU too. But I'm saying all that. I like him. I like what he does with his legs. He makes good decisions. He is pretty good with the ball. I'm not too worried about the turnover deal. I think that's just a fluky, a little bit of a rough game, and some of those were strange turnovers.
Well, to bring that up, I forget what his numbers are. Leanna, can you look up Max's last year at LSU, his interceptions? I think it was like 21 to 3 or 4. Okay.
4.
Right?
Yeah.
So in 3 seasons, I know he hasn't played full seasons, but in 3 seasons, he has not had that many turnovers. That was a little bit earlier in his career. That, to me, that speaks more of where he is now.
I'm hoping that's an aberration. And from my standpoint, Max has been Max has been really, really good. Max, it seems like he's got that just fire about him too, that he's ready to, he wants to win and everything. I do want to say real quickly, however, I want to say something.
I've
been listening to a lot of the national guys, and a lot of them have gone, A&M's gotten better since Wegman went down. All right, hang on. I've got nothing against Max. I love Max. I think Max is doing a great job. But Wegman, I think all they see is that we played poorly in the first half of that game against Auburn, and then they forget how good he was playing up to that point. And let me ask this: what would the line be if Wegman was starting this game? Right? How much confidence would you have if Wegman starting this game above Max? So I just want to say that I think that's crazy. I mean, Wegman was putting up Heisman-like stats,
right?
And QBR and everything,
which is my concern about this game. I like this Alabama defense still, right? Mm-hmm. Clunky first half against Auburn, right? You're kicking field goals, trying to kind of force that running game that came on second half, and then second half Arkansas. Kind of self-inflicted wounds, I thought. It wasn't really a whole lot of Arkansas doing it, but again, just stumbling a little bit. Just actually, I yelled right out loud third quarter. I was like, "We are trying to give this game away. Stop! We are dominating, but it's 20-16."
Yeah.
I want to bring up the turnover thing quickly on Max because I just looked it up, and in his career, he has 8 interceptions. 8 interceptions in his career. And he has thrown the ball 653 times. He threw it 6 interceptions in 2021, 0 last year, only in a couple of games, obviously, and he's thrown 1 this year, 8. That is not turnover prone with as many balls as he's thrown. Haynes King, who I love, I always got to say that, in 300 less attempts, has thrown 14 interceptions.
Yeah.
That is more turnover prone than what we're seeing from Max.
I get somebody brought up there's been like 13 fumbles from Max.
Yeah,
I have not verified that. Cole Kubick, I think, threw it out there. Probably some sack issues, So, and again, I don't know how many of those were at LSU too when that line was garbage.
Yeah,
so.
He's efficient. He takes care of the ball for the most part. He had a rough game. I mean, it happens. I mean, so
hopefully that's it.
Yeah, I mean, you learn from it, right? So now you have something to work on this week, moving into the big game.
Kelly, how confident are you in the defense overall? We know that there's confidence of that defensive line, but overall, how confident are you?
I'm very confident, actually. I know that the back end hasn't always performed well this season. They've had a few moments, but I think as a unit, they're performing very well together. We're getting more pressure on the quarterback the last 2 weeks than we did previously. That's going to only help the back end. I think the linebackers are playing a million times better than they did last year. Mm-hmm. I think the D-line's playing a million times better than it was last year.
We're in October, so this is who we are, right?
Yeah. The defensive backfield, they could still be better, and there's potential to be better. Like you see a few flashes at various moments of things that are good, but they haven't put it together. And like you said, maybe it's October, so that's who we are. Maybe they're never going to put it together. But I'm saying overall, I haven't given up on them putting it together and actually being equally as dominant as the line and the linebackers have because the talent's there, and you've seen the individuals do it at one game or another, but you haven't seen the unit do it. And if they were to actually get it together, the defensive backfield would be just as good as the linebackers and the defensive linemen if the unit as a whole would get it together.
Well, I want to say real quickly, I don't know if our DBs are as poor as some people seem to think they are, because the only game they had that's been bad so far was Miami, and I think that was more of a scheme thing. I mean, Van Dyke had 6 or 7 seconds every single time in the pocket to throw.
I just think they've tackled softly as a whole.
They did. Tackling was bad in that game.
Like they've been soft throughout the year. They need to be tougher.
I would not say they were soft in the Arkansas.
They were
and the Auburn.
They were smacking.
No,
DeBerry was smacking. Chappelle was smacking. Chappelle caused that fumble.
Yeah.
That
should have been a touchdown.
Should have been a touchdown.
Jefferson is not an easy guy to go down, and he went down.
He went down a lot.
Yeah. And so
and Rocket Sanders didn't do anything.
So I'm just saying the one game that they're being judged by, I think that was more scheme issue to let Van Dyke sit back there forever. That guy, I mean, and so we changed it. And I love that we took that game. We learned from our mistake not pressuring the quarterback. We know that we're a team that has to pressure the quarterback. Let's pressure the quarterback and not let him sit back there and just absolutely dime us and pick us apart. And Van Dyke had the game of his life that game. You go back and watch it. That guy was dead on every pass.
He was dead on. He did not face a lot of pressure, and the tackling was poor.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that high of an opinion of Tyler Van Dyke leading into that game. My opinion has changed because of what he did. And he did have a really good year 2 years ago. I don't think Jalen Milroe throws as good as Tyler Van Dyke.
No, not at all. And then,
but he can run.
And the best thing is, think about it. We've played 5 games. Our defense has allowed 2 touchdowns outside of that Miami game.
The New Mexico game.
And that was the only rushing touchdown we've allowed all season.
And then the unfortunate one at the end of the Arkansas game.
Then a trash time touchdown. Yeah.
Speaking of Tyler Van Dyke versus our boy Haynes King this weekend.
I'm interested.
Yeah.
I'm interested.
Keep an eye on that.
It's a hard one for me because I want to believe Miami is really good, and that was just that game. But I root for Haynes. And
I want Haynes to have a good game, but I don't think that.
We'll look at the spread,
Miami
man.
looks
That's
like
got to be a 14, 17-point spread on that.
Yeah, Miami looks like they're the
crush.
real deal. Yeah.
All right, let's hit a break here. When we come back, let's do the biggest question that needs to be answered after the Bama game, or during the Bama game, I should say. We'll do that. But right now, caller number 1, we're going to give you a free car wash from Aggie Land Express Car Wash in South College Station off of William D. Fitch in Greens Prairie. They're Aggie owned and operated with the friendliest staff and a personal touch. They offer a monthly membership, but we'll give the first caller a free car wash right now from Aggie Land Express in South College Station, 979-693-1150. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio Fan Show presented by by Gerard Construction. Excuse me. I'm not going to talk about what we were talking about off air, but Tyler Buckner, if he plays great, if Ty Simpson plays great, and if Jalen Milroe great, that's how I feel about this defense.
Yeah. So with the unconfirmed report that Milroe may have strained a hamstring in practice this week, a slowed Milroe would be great. We're not hanging our high hopes.
Is that message board stuff? I haven't seen it.
It's message board stuff.
Yeah. Look, I like Milroe. I'm not as down on him. He can actually make some intermediate throws. He's got a good arm. I get it. He's limited, but the problem is you were talking about off air. We were just talking about KJ Jefferson versus Milroe, right? And they're different. My problem is KJ goes from 0 to top speed instantly. Mm-hmm. Right, and KJ Jefferson. Did I say Milroe?
Yeah, you said KJ. First,
okay, Milroe goes from 0 to top speed instantly.
He's an
KJ
athletic freak.
Is kind of. I mean, dude can run.
Yeah.
By the way, nobody legit reporter has put that information on. That's just Twitter stuff.
Because they'll be absolutely chastised, tarred and feathered by
Lord
Saban.
Saban might yell at them before he put his Coke bottle down and made sure it was facing the right direction.
Brian, we're going to start with you. Biggest question that needs to be answered during the Bama game.
All right, this is the one I thought about. All right, so
this is the one.
This is the main. I'm trying to think of what's the main key to victory here for us, right? What's the main key to victory? I think our defense is. We know what our defense is, right? And I think that like they said, we pressure the quarterback more than any team in the country, like by a large clip. And they get pressure. They allow pressure to their quarterback. They're second most. So the matchup there is really good. So I think from a defensive standpoint, I think that, I think that should play out like it should. The key to the game for us is how do we run the football on offense? Because if we can run the football and you get in that play action game and everything else, if we can run the football effectively, right? Have Moss run like he did last week. Get a back or two over 100 yards or get 150 yards rushing combined by the three guys. Whatever the case may be, run the ball effectively, open up the field to these stud wide receivers. That is the key to the game. How well can we run the football and open those holes and get those guys going?
Alabama's number 36 in the country at rushing yards allowed per game at 112, but pretty good defense.
And to your point,
really good defense.
They have a good defense. That's why that's so important.
For me, it's more about third and short, because then they can't dial up some of that. Like our offensive line has struggled at times with some stranger, different blitz packages and some various things that the defensive coordinators have done to us. Well, on 3rd and 2, they just can't do that as much. So how do we get to 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3? Well, we run the ball. Is the easiest way. Mm-hmm. There's other ways. So I agree with you on the running the ball point, but it's more to get to 3rd and short. So that way they can't do something crazy to us that the offensive line may or may not be able to pick up, and then we can run shorter passing routes if they do come at us or whatever. So I think it's more about 3rd and short, but the best way to get there is running the football.
I like Brownie's take, but I'm going to go our defensive backs too. Right? Because that's if it's Milroe, which it should be, right?
Because we already know what the front seven's going to do.
Right. And what's the best thing he does with his arm? He throws deep. So you got to quit letting those guys behind you, right? Mm-hmm. There's no reason for somebody to be running 5 yards behind you down there.
No, especially with that D-line in front of you. Yeah. Right? I mean,
they shouldn't have the time to run 5 yards behind you.
Keep everybody in front of you and see if that quarterback with that pressure can throw a good ball, right? I mean, that's the way I look at it. I mean,
we do have how many? Damani's a 5th or 6th year safety for us now? He knows not to let anybody behind him.
He's been big against Bama too.
Oh yes, I'm happy to have an experienced safety back there, because as things develop in front of him, he should have seen it before.
And big special teams. We need a big special teams play. Every time we meet him, we always have a big special teams play. So come on, Anais.
Well, let's talk about Anais, because we haven't talked about him.
Love that guy.
I mean,
he's a football playing dude.
Doesn't he do everything that you want from a football player? He's funny. He's charismatic. He's big time in big games. He does special teams. He can be in the back. Like, he does everything you want.
He's that guy that when watch any game we play and we run a sweep outside, you want to see a receiver blocking? Anais is out there absolutely giving it 100%. That's the guy. You love that guy. That guy is I'm telling you, he's one of my favorite Aggies of all time. He's just, he's got He just got that passion. I wish if you could take that and put in every single guy, you'd win national championship every year.
And for a smaller package guy, right? He's not as big as some running backs or receivers out there. He delivers. He doesn't take hits.
Yeah.
He will beat you down.
Yeah.
I mean, he will give it to you. He's a great guy.
I like what you said about the passion and the energy. Like, put that in a bottle and give it to everybody.
Yeah. If you could do that, if you bottle that, the guy plays like he's 10 feet tall and 500 pounds.
And I love how the Alabama honks are trying to make his, press conference this week controversy or something.
It wasn't.
I mean, it was so tame, but they're just looking for, he said he knows what Nick Saban wants.
What does he want?
What in the hell, man?
He did keep calling him Nick, though. Like, where do y'all like play golf together in the
that's
off
gotta,
season or
you
something?
know that's got to bug Saban.
They're bros.
For some 22-year-old kid to call him Nick.
I
all
wonder
the time.
if he was doing that
That's gotta
for a
just
reason.
grate on him.
Like if he just, because everybody else, calls him Coach Saban, but he kept calling him Nick.
Everybody calls him Coach or Coach Saban or something. And 22-year-old kid from the other team keeps calling him Nick. That's got to bug him.
Does this game feel like a game where we might see a Bobby Petrino wrinkle, like something we haven't seen, like or
hope we don't need to.
Bam.
I hope we don't need to. I want to go out and run the ball, throw some play action, and have our defense shut them down. And I more than anything, I want for once just a comfortable win. I want to win where we're not even worried in the second half.
Well, I mean, we all want that.
We all want that. But come on, I put that. I'm putting it out there.
Okay.
Not many people will say that. I know it's crazy, and y'all will probably all laugh at me next week, right?
Of course.
But I think we're going to have a comfortable win. I really do. I think we're going to have a big,
you're
nice,
see it,
plush win.
Even Jimbo has always had a play or two for these guys like that. Look, 21, we're at the goal line, and we run some play action, but Anais sneaks right. Remember, quick slant right there in the end zone, wide open. Jimbo likes to run that quarterback roll out. He's going to throw all the way across the field to the other side of the tight end.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with Dave. I think you see something here.
And it may not be anything crazy. Like, we may not be like a double reverse pass or something stupid, but you'll see a wrinkle that they've been holding on to that knows will work against a Saban defense that they haven't showed yet.
Just don't beat yourself. Don't don't make mistakes. Just don't do that. Give yourself the best chance. Where is Bama vulnerable, guys? Who wants to start it off?
I'll be happy to. They're vulnerable, and their offensive line versus our defensive line is going to be the matchup that I think that wins the game ultimately. I mean, truly. I mean, that will be the key. I've heard people all week talking about, do you pressure? Do you try to pressure Milroe? Because when you pressure him, that's when he escapes and runs. And when he's in the pocket is when he's not at his best. But at the same time, when we don't pressure, we see what happens to us.
But he's not Tyler Van Dyke.
He's not Tyler Van Dyke. So but we've won by pressuring the quarterback. Do you go away from what's been the successful?
You got to pressure him
recipe
and just stay discipled.
Right? You got to have some.
Yeah, I think you saw the blueprint last week against Arkansas.
Who's our fastest, most athletic linebacker? Have a spy, something like that?
York spied a lot last week. But what York was doing that I thought I just noticed it on a couple different plays. We're blitzing from one side, and the spy is sitting on the other side. So the quarterback, if we're blitzing from our right, the quarterback's natural inclination is to leak out away from that, and our spy's sitting there waiting on him.
Yeah.
And we did it several times against KJ Jefferson. I mean, it's
KJ's a mobile quarterback, and then what was the guy's name from Auburn that came in the second half? No, the second.
Robbie Ashford.
Robbie Ashford.
Yeah, and he's athletic. He looks like
really
Milroe.
athletic.
He just can't throw. He runs though like that, and we bottled him up too. So,
by the way, Bama, according to Randall and Salado, Vegas has Bama now -1. I don't know if the line
was
moved.
1.5.
Really? So
it's moved to 1, which means everybody's putting money.
They're
on
getting
the
the
Aggies.
Milroe news out there in Vegas.
Hey, if somebody in Vegas says Milroe's out, that's legitimate. Vegas knows everything.
Yeah. Well, again, let's just. Well, whoever's out there, I feel very good about our.
Hey, breaking news!
Line.
You heard it right here on the Vegas show.
That's right.
Yeah, slow down.
If Vegas has Milroe out, Milroe's out.
Before we hit a break, where's A&M vulnerable, guys? Is it the defensive backfield? Is it our offensive line?
I'm worried about offense. I really like Bama's defense.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
Mississippi State had some success moving the ball last week, but he threw 3 picks, right? So that hurt them. I just worry about our offense. I think that's where we're vulnerable.
I think we're vulnerable.
And I like this offense.
Yeah, I like it too. I think we're vulnerable to making mistakes, like mental mistakes, jumping off sides, not missing an assignment, dropping the football. Just little things that Bama doesn't necessarily control. We control it, and we still let it happen.
Per ESPN, Bama's now favored by 1.5 points.
Yeah. So we are. So I don't want to say we're vulnerable at the offensive line. I think that's the most crucial position, though, offensively, is to because we've got to be able to run the ball. We need to stay disciplined, no false starts, all that sort of thing. But yeah, I think I don't want to say we're vulnerable there, but this is the biggest test they'll have. This is the best defense they're going to play.
Do they move Dallas Turner around a lot? I don't know. Yeah, he plays on one. I mean,
Micah Parsons, he's all over the place.
All right, let's hit a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about some other games that matter. We'll do that here on TexAgs Radio. There are other games that matter to college football fans, Kelly, but the only game that matters here will be at Kyle Field. By the way, check out the All Aggie Hullabaloo this week if you're going to the game. The Association of Former Students wants to invite you to join them at that All Aggie Hullabaloo. Make the Clayton W. Williams Jr. Alumni Center your game day headquarters this weekend and enjoy free drinks courtesy of Kristen Distributing, City Orchid cider, and Madame Patella tequila. I always mess that up. As well as food for purchase from Raging Bull Street Tacos and the Shredded Cow, Texas Pie Guy, and Kona Ice. You can also do some pregame shopping at Vendor Marketplace with Braz's Brim Hat. And you've got the Beaded Blondes, the Charge Apparel, Kendra Scott Game Day Boots, and Charms by Charlotte. If you have any questions about your Aggie ring or need to have it resized, the Aggie Ring office will be open throughout the event. The All Aggie Hullabaloo begins at 11:30 a.m. this week, and admission is absolutely free. Don't miss out on this great event, and don't forget to register to claim your wristband at tx.ag/All Aggie Hullabaloo. Fan show guys here. Gerard Construction bringing that to you here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. All right, gentlemen, let's go through some games that matter outside of Kyle Field.
Nice.
Let's start off with the 6 o'clock game on Saturday. Number 1, Georgia, who is undefeated. Not looking their best, at least if you think what they did against Auburn. Taking on Kentucky, who is running the ball at a very high level. Ray Davis has been great for them. 8 touchdowns in the year, almost 600 yards rushing. Let's talk about it. Is Georgia
What's the spread on that one?
14.5.
Which is the same as
I'm
Auburn.
going to take Kentucky's points. I'm going to take with the points.
Okay, but just look at from Kentucky's viewpoint. They're undefeated. They're certainly undefeated in conference. They have a chance to knock the dude off. I mean, do you give them a fighter's chance here?
Well, let me tell you who they've played. Outside of Florida, they haven't played anybody.
Who they absolutely
Ball
crush.
State, Eastern Kentucky, Akron, Vandy, Florida.
So my take on this game is this. I think that this is Georgia's get-right game. Georgia's tired of hearing what they've heard all week. They're 2-time defending champs. There's some pride there. And my thought is they're going to come out and blow their doors off and just absolutely be like, all right, let's stop all the naysayers. Let's prove it. We're still the number 1 team in the country. Yeah. And they're going to be focused. And now I could be wrong, obviously, but I really do think that Georgia's going to. This will be their get right game, and they calm that noise a little bit.
Yeah, if it was at Kentucky, I would maybe say again. Now Georgia's in a situation like they were at Auburn last week, where they're in a tough environment at night. But and the problem with Kentucky is Leary came in. And he was supposed to be, kind of more than what he's been so far this year. And that offense has struggled to throw the ball. So I'm not feeling it for Kentucky, the upset buys. But, I mean, that's 2 undefeateds. We're going to have our eyeballs on.
I think Georgia wins and covers.
I'm taking Georgia in a tight one. I just don't think they cover. I think Kentucky will grind it out.
I'll take Georgia and the cover.
Keep it low.
All right. This one I'm very intrigued by because I want to doubt LSU.
Always want to doubt
LSU. Their DBs are suspect. Missouri throws, but it's Missouri, right? So I'm struggling with it. So LSU at Missouri, 11 a.m. game on Saturday.
At 11 a.m. is tough on LSU.
Yeah, but that's second week for a track meet. Just get ready for it. But if we're putting our teams out there, I think LSU can survive this track meet more than they did against Ole Miss. But I haven't really. I mean, I've watched Missouri highlights. I haven't really teed in on them. I know
they got a good quarterback and a good really good wide receiver.
Missouri beat K-State.
Yeah.
That's about it.
That's their Memphis. They beat Memphis.
I mean that's better than Kentucky beat.
I mean, yeah.
Admittedly.
Their resume does thus far look better than Kentucky.
Como, tough place to play at 11 a.m.
It is.
It's
We've
not.
lost.
No,
we've lost games up there at 11
2 years
a.m.
ago, 2021.
There was 9 people in the stands.
That's a sad place for
football.
football.
I think that's actually why it's tough.
No, they'll be jacked up this week.
They'll be a packed house. I mean, they got LSU coming in. They're undefeated.
I'm just telling you, that ain't.
It's not. It's still. It'll be louder than what we had.
We've played poorly up there at 11 a.m. before.
LSU. I think LSU wins this game. I think that. I think that these teams are very similar. But, I mean, you're talking about a gigantic jump in talent between the 2 teams. And at the end of the day, I say, if you got 2 teams that look fairly similar on paper, you go with the one that's got way more talent.
How about?
Although that Luther Burden for Missouri is the real deal.
But how about LSU bringing in some octogenarian, DL expert to bring in this week? And he handled it in his press conference. What's his face?
Kelly.
Brian Kelly.
Brian Kelly. He's like, I mean, it was gentle, but he was talking to Feinbaum or something. He's like, our DL coach just didn't have a lot of experience for bringing this guy in. I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
That's
game 5.
Is that fired without being fired?
85-year-old dude that has been around the program and loves DL linemen.
All right. How about the Red River rivalry? Number 12 Oklahoma, number 3 Texas. One of those teams is going to be undefeated and will probably. These 2 teams will probably meet each other again in the Big 12 championship game, but the only 2 ranked teams in the Big 12.
It's such a. First of all, this rivalry is so stupid. I'm sorry, it is. It's just so dumb. They're always like, "Oh, this is one of the greatest rivalries in sport." You go ask the hundreds of Longhorn fans that you have that are friends of yours. Ask them how many Oklahoma fans they know. They might know 3 or 4 total. They know hundreds of. They always act like this is such a big. It's so stupid. It's such a dumb game. Everybody in it's stupid. Oklahoma sucks. Texas sucks. Y'all suck. I hope you both lose. I hope a meteor hits gets that stadium and
You know, I said that last week, and everybody's like, I crossed the line, and I was a terrible human being.
I was
and
about to
he
go
says
there.
it this week,
Yeah.
and everybody thinks it's funny.
But I'm sweeter.
I'm just saying.
I'm adorable.
I
Everyone
said it
loves
2
me.
weeks ago, and I'm a horrible human being.
Okay.
I don't want a meteor to hit anybody, all right? Thank you. I just
I
want
do.
them to lose.
Yeah, I want them both to lose. Can they both
I mean,
lose?
unpopular opinion here, but from an I've been to that game twice. That's
It's a fun.
awesome,
I would like to go to
awesome
that game.
football
I have
game.
not been.
Dang it,
Okay.
Hunter,
I would like to
I don't
go.
want real.
Okay. Not my problem. Certainly,
Fan take.
certainly
Exaggerate.
rooting for the Boomers here. Ah, man, if you just look at this resume, I think they are certainly more untested than Texas.
They're more untested than Kentucky.
But I get you. I'm hearing you too. I mean, Texas is
Let me tell you who they've played, guys.
Well, Texas 3 games in a row playing a backup quarterback. Baylor's guy was awful.
Baylor's guy was
Texas
so
hasn't played
bad.
anybody either. Texas played one good team,
Kansas.
Alabama, in a slump. But Oklahoma's resume thus far is absolutely laughable.
They beat Arkansas State 73-0.
Unreal.
SMU victory, obviously. Tulsa victory, 66 points in that one. Cincinnati 20-6 win, and they gave up 20 to Iowa State, but they beat them 50-20.
Yeah, I mean that's awful.
How do you give up 20 to Iowa State? In their whole offense suspended for gambling?
Pretty much.
So this game is. I hope they both lose, but if you really want a true analysis, I think Texas is probably quite a bit better team. But
With that being said, go OU.
Go OU. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next game on the list, and let's do, how about number 10 Notre Dame at number 25 Louisville. Louisville, to me, hasn't played anybody.
Louisville.
No, I don't think so. But you guys really think Louisville?
No, I just like saying that.
Yeah,
the way
exactly.
they say it.
Louisville, if you
Louisville.
remember, was losing to Georgia Tech. I don't think Georgia Tech. What's the line with Georgia Tech Miami?
That was game one, though. That Louisville's all right. I think Notre Dame is looking pretty good.
I like it. Say Louisville.
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 They can say it's like A-Chain. Hey, by the way, didn't A-Chain come
Louisville.
on this show? Like when he first said, no, he was like, it's A-Chain.
Yeah, when he
That's what
first
said.
got here, he actually.
I don't know if- was it on this show?
He was
I don't
on
know if it
this
was on the
He was
show,
here
but
with
he
Bronny.
came. He was somewhere, and he was like, he
was-
literally was like, "This is how you say it."
He was on here with Bronny, and he said it's A-Chain, and now it's A-Chain.
H-on.
A-Chain. So either way, but yeah, I like the,
You say it with too much of a
Louisville.
Texas accent.
But it's Louisville. And we call it Louisville.
Louisville. Louisville.
I think that I picked against Notre Dame last week. I thought Duke would win, and it was close.
Yeah.
The clock management was pretty poor there at the end of that game.
It
But
was.
I'm not going to pick up against them again. I think Notre Dame kind of proved that was a tough environment. That was a tough game against a good coach team. That Notre Dame looked pretty good. So I'm
Notre
gonna go
Dame
the
is
Irish
definitely
in this
better
one.
than I would like them to be.
So here's one for you. Number 17 Miami is hosting Georgia Tech. And here's the stat for you. Haynes King on the year. He's got 1,400 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, and just 4 interceptions. The line
One
in
of those
this
was the first play of the year.
Yeah.
One of those interceptions.
He had a couple in that game, right? Didn't he have
He
two?
did. He had 2, I think.
Miami's favored by 21 points.
I don't know enough about
Who's Georgia Tech's defensive coordinator?
I mean, Georgia Tech's defense and
Probably.
LSU's defense could have a pillow fight. That's how bad they are. That's a big spread, but Miami. I think Miami's good. We may not know until they get to their Florida
Conference
State. I don't know if they
championship
play
game.
Clemson or not, but yeah.
I mean, Miami will win this game. I mean, they're coming off a bye. I think they had a bye last week, I believe. So they're coming off a bye. I'm against a lowly Georgia Tech team that
I would like to
we
think
love Haynes.
Haynes
but-
is going to cover, but I'm not sure that he is. I would like to think he is.
Hey, don't forget about BUTT this week. I mean, Baylor, Texas Tech, that big rivalry.
I like the way you play that.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Let me throw this one
Must
at
be
you.
some tortilla tossing in that game.
Because I'm rooting for Arkansas against Ole Miss. I'm rooting for them because Ole Miss potentially is right in the mix of the SEC West. Arkansas, let's hope that victory really mattered. Maybe they're better than what they've shown here, but they have a chance to lose. Was it their 4th straight game?
I was in this chair talking up Arkansas's offense last week because they actually did move the ball really well against BYU and obviously LSU. 30-plus points both games.
I'm hoping this is their get-right game, and they go out and they smoke Ole Miss.
All right, what's the over-under? Because there could be 100.
The over and under in this game is 63.5, which Ole Miss can do by themselves.
I think I'm taking the over.
I like Ole Miss at home, but
Misfavored by 11.5.
Yeah, I saw that was big. I don't
I
like
think
them that
Arkansas
much.
covers. I think it's going to be close.
It's a big number.
I think they're both going to score some points in this game.
That's
and
why I
agree
think
with
it's
Kelly.
close. It's 63-60 or something weird.
When we come back on TexAgs Radio, what kind of numbers are these Aggies going to put up? We'll talk about that and more next on TexAgs. All right, we are back. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Fan Show final segment brought to you by Girard Construction, custom home builders for the Brazos Valley since
2002.
I did not know that. I do know they build homes.
We do, and
But that's-
relationships.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not all they build.
You
They
build
also
relationships?
We like people.
One
and
step
most
at a
people
time?
like us.
One brick at a time, I should say.
Yes.
Learn more at girard-construction.com. Gentlemen, let's talk about what kind of numbers we're going to put up. Leanna, ask for a position. You haven't spoken in a while. Give these guys a thing to think about A&M stats-wise.
Yeehaw.
I honestly just think quarterback. Give us Max Johnson stats. Max Johnson, give us it.
His stats. There you go.
Who's that?
Max Johnson.
I think Hunter already told us. He's a 2 to 250 guy.
Is that what he's going to do against Bama, though?
16 for 21, 210, something like that.
Oh, I like it.
A
Any
touchdown.
interceptions?
Very specific.
No picks.
All
He can't have a
right.
pick this
We're going to protect the ball this week.
No turnovers. And I think he's going to be around that 210, 225 range.
Yeah, we've had two turnovers in the past two games that led straight to touchdowns. Right. That they've got to clean up. I think that hopefully they'll focus on that this week. Max, like you said, is known to be a guy that protects the football. So, you know what? I'm gonna say 285 and 3.
Oh wow,
Woo. 3 touchdowns
and no interceptions.
No interceptions. I really think we're gonna. I think we're going to win this game.
We're gonna spank them.
I think we're gonna win this game.
I have a question.
It is the fan show.
I have a question, if that's all right. I don't want to steal
by
your
all
thunder,
means,
David.
Host.
So, yeah, exactly. Are you thinking the touchdowns are like we're down there in the third on the 3-yard line and it's third down and we're throwing something short, or are we like dropping bombs from
I think
the field?
both. I think we'll get. I think we'll hit a couple of big plays, and I think that just like last week, Crown over. We've thrown it Crown over twice down there. You got Jake Johnson down there.
Can we go tackle eligible to the other Crown over?
And if we're running the ball well, that's where play action. That's where play action works all day. So this is the fan show. Okay,
right.
I am bleeding maroon here, and it's very obvious. I'm completely aware of that, but I think we're going to win comfortably.
All right.
I think this is a 17-13 type game. I'm taking the under. I think both of these defenses are the shining star on their crowns, and I see just a slugfest, and I think it's going to be low scoring.
Are we pulling it out? 17-13, pull it out?
I'm all in.
I'm all in too.
24-6.
I think I know the answer to this.
I like it.
I would love that. Let me just go ahead and tell you.
I'm aware of how stupid I'm coming across right now, but that's what I'm calling it. 24-6.
If they win 24-6, you will sit in this chair next week.
Does he get to ask the questions?
No.
All day.
Does he get?
I mean,
see how sad
you'll be in this chair that I put over there.
I will host the entire show.
Does he get to ask the questions during the fan show?
I can
if he could call the score out.
If he'll do the prep for it, absolutely, and text everybody the questions and all that, all the administrative work. Yes,
he'll do that.
I can do it. I'm in.
Who is going? I think I know the answer to this. Who's the leading back?
Reuben Owens.
It's got to be Le'Veon.
I think that's why it's Reuben Owens.
You know why? You know who Le'Veon reminds me of? I've been trying to Najee Harris. He's that same that power kind of quickness.
Yeah.
He does it all really good. He's not great at one specific thing, but I like him. I really like the way he's coming off.
I think Reuben Owens goes.
Jimbo is high on him. I mean, I listen, I pay attention, but I'll just be the contrarian. I'll say Amari. I mean, dude ripped off an 80-yarder.
Okay. I think Reuben Owens hits a
ago.
home run. 40 yards or more this week.
I
think he's going to rip one off.
I think he's going to have a play that we remember, no doubt.
That's what I love. I love that you asked that question. You get three different answers.
I thought I knew that. I thought everyone was going to say Le'Veon, but
Reuben's maybe in the passing game.
Right.
But I think he's going to have a big play, 40 yards or more, and do something that makes a significant difference in this ballgame.
That was what I was thinking I was going to do for bank on it next week or tomorrow, but we'll see.
You can steal my thunder. It's okay. Just give me credit.
Leading receiver.
In this game, it's going to be Anias.
Okay.
And I love Evan Stewart. I think he's the best receiver we have. But he had the ankle thing, got slowed. Noah's been slowed, and Moose, for some reason, it seems like he's in the doghouse. I don't know why. He's getting like 2 targets a game.
Jade had some drops.
Yeah, Jade's had some drops. I mean, and this is Anias. Anias is going to do. He's going to put 100. He's going to leave everything out there.
This is Anias' kind of game. They're going to bring pressure. We're going to have to get the ball out quick. He runs good, precise routes. He catches the football. He may have 10 catches for 100 yards. I mean, he could do it.
One is your best receiver. Had a big game against Bama last year, so I'm going Evan Stew.
All right, love it.
Is Noah Thomas going to break out this game again? It's been a minute.
I hope so.
I say watch Jake Johnson too.
I mean, he's going to be very. It's emotional. I mean, he's probably still very emotional right now, but good big win with your brothers can do wonders.
It's going to be somebody you're not looking at.
I'd love a big game from him.
It's going to be somebody you're not looking at.
Does A&M force some interceptions in this one? Because they only got 2 on the year, guys.
No.
I don't know. This is the guy to do it.
If he's going to be throwing bombs, we can get some picks.
Here's the deal, though. I mean, he throws less than 15 passes. He threw 12 passes last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was 10 of 12 against Mississippi State. So, I mean, your odds of getting a pick, I mean, that's maybe you get one, but
they won't be able to run the ball against us.
If you're not putting it up a bunch, you're probably not throwing a lot of picks.
Good question. How many did they put up against Mississippi State last week?
How many interceptions?
No, how many points? Was it 35 or something? Was it less
40.
than that?
They won 40-17.
Yeah, they had a pick 6 in there, right?
Yeah,
and then
I think we can get one, but
they actually had 2 other interceptions, and Mississippi State held them to field goals.
If he only throws the ball 12 times, we're in trouble. He's got to throw it more than 12 times for us to really do it. Brownie wants us to do.
Last one for you. How many sacks of Jalen Milroe?
I'm going 7. I'm stick with the number.
3 straight games of 7?
Games of 7.
I'm going 5.
I'm all Aggied out. I'm Kool-Aid. I've drank it. I've poured out. It's coming out of my pores right now.
I'm going to go with 4, but I am giving us an interception in there. So 4 sacks and an interception.
Okay. Does that mean a win for sure?
Oh, I'm picking the win.
All right. By the way, Mississippi State
I'm the only
had
one that
4.
has to put a score out, but I'm picking
They
the
had
win.
4 sacks?
Mississippi State had 4. Texas had 5.
And some of
Ole
those,
Miss had 4.
he gets out of the pocket. They're chasing him down, but absolutely.
I'm going 21. I'm going 21-17, and Alabama has the ball at the end, but the defense gets the stop.
I watched that. Mississippi State got good pressure on him. Really good pressure.
We got to drop it right there, gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming in.
24-6.
We'll see everybody mañana.
To host the show next